Yard last night to watch the Birds outslug the Red Sox 6-0. Boston could muster nothing offensively, leaving them frustrated as Chris Tillman collected his 13th win of the season. Tonight it's Game 2, and 40,000 more fans are looking for another win. It's the Orioles on Masson at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. The rain has come, the rain has gone, and after a slight delay, we will have baseball here tonight. It is Game 2, the middle game in this 3-game weekend series as the Orioles host the Boston Red Sox. And hi, everyone. I'm Jim Hunter. Mike Bordick in a moment as the Orioles look to make it back-to-back wins over Boston. And last night here at Camden Yards, it was one of those nights that happens very infrequently during a year where everything came together. It was a near perfect night for the Orioles. The starting pitcher, Chris Tillman, he was outstanding. 7 shutout innings. The bullpen, Tommy Hunter and Jim Johnson, each with a scoreless inning. And then the Orioles did what they do best, in fact, better than any other team. They walloped the baseball with a home run and went on to a 6-0 win. Adam Jones, a 2-home run night, and both home runs going to right field. Manny Machado, he chipped in a solo shot to left field, and J.J. Hardy joined the fun as well. That was the 4th home run of the game, and it led the Orioles to a 6-0 win. Now, the Orioles on the year, the numbers are outstanding. 141 home runs, more than any team in the major leagues. They have 38 multi-home run games now, second most in the bigs. Last night, their 3rd game on the year with 4 home runs in the same game. Now, 222 of their runs have scored via those home runs, and astounding 45% of their runs coming in on the long balls. You see the Orioles have homered in 82 of the 104 games, and 15 different players have hit at least 1 home run on the year. The Orioles better than anybody at finding the fences. And Mike Bordick, last night it all came together. Yes, the pitching was there, but those home runs got the Orioles the run support they needed, and they went on to a win.
Yeah, a great win, obviously, for the Orioles last night. Chris Tillman really set the tempo, I think, for the Orioles, but the Orioles bats came alive. They kind of quieted down for 3 games against Kansas City, but this is what they're all about. 4 home runs last night and showed the production what they're all about. Really a home run orientated offense, and everybody has contributed. 15 players, you said, with at least a home run in this Orioles lineup. So led by Chris Davis, of course, with 37, but Adam Jones, 22, J.J. Hardy right there with 18, and Matt Wieters. I mean, they are just a powerhouse offensive team, and they are well-rounded, and that's the key. Dan Duquette, when he came in, he said, listen, we have a lot of guys that can hit home runs. We need to get guys on base so they can hit 2- and 3-run home runs, and they're doing that. They have 5 players with an on-base percentage of over .330, so great table setter, Nate McLouth at the top of the order, obviously. Chris Davis, when he's not hitting home runs, he's getting on base by way of walk or a base hit. They have 4 players with over 100 hits. So just a very well-rounded offense with the ability to steal bases as well. Nate McLouth, 25 stolen bases. Manny Machado can steal bases. Adam Jones has 9. Casillas on the bench, so he's a threat late in the ball game to come in and run. You know, so there's a lot of potential there, a lot of weapons that the Orioles can use other than the home run, but the home run is certainly a huge key for this Orioles offense.
And if you ask the hitting coach, Jim Presley, he'll likely tell you he doesn't like to rely on home runs. But the fact is, the Orioles haven't had to rely on them. They get them regardless. They have more home runs than any team in baseball. And if you have that firepower, it works to your advantage because that means you could score runs in bunches.
Well, it sure does. And that's why the Orioles aren't out of any ball game. I mean, they have the ability, the great ability, of course, late in ball games to come back. 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. One of the most dangerous teams in all of baseball because everybody in the lineup has that home run potential. So the most feared offense by far in the American League.
So tonight here at Camden Yards, it's Game 2 of this 3-game series. Scott Feldman is on the mound for the Birds tonight. And when we come back, as we continue in our rain delay, we'll talk pitching. And the Orioles starters are coming on strong in the second half. To you by H.H. Gregg. H.H. Gregg, appliances, electronics, furniture, and more. See everything at H.H. Gregg. Well, some clouds overhead. The rain came through. It has left, and we're awaiting the start of the first pitch here tonight as the Orioles are packing them in tonight. A huge crowd, close to a sellout, we're told. Middle game of 3 against the Boston Red Sox. Orioles returned home last night to begin a 9-game homestand and beat the Red Sox. They have a winning record against Boston. And Buck Showalter was asked today in his daily media conference what it is about the Orioles and how important these games are and how well they have played within the AL East.
No, it's lived up to. I think that's what people miss a lot about. I think every division you can make a case for. There's good teams in every division. I mean, the West, Central. I mean, heck, the World Series participant came out of the Central, so I don't get too much into that American League East. I understand, but the thing people do miss, I think, is the quality of pitching you see night after night. You know, just everybody has. I think there's more 1 and 2 starters. It seems to be. So I think that allows a lot of teams to keep their bullpen intact because they're always a day or two away from a deep outing. That's what we're trying to get to.
Well, speaking of deep outings, the last few weeks you guys have gone very, very deep. Is it at all a worry, and I think you alluded to it a little bit yesterday, that with going 7 and 8 innings and having 13 pitchers, that some of the guys are not getting in the games?
That's not getting in games. You know, we know where the limit is. 5 with Jimmy, 5 with Tommy. Last night they were pitching. This time of year that guys have pitched, it's 100 games in the season. There's not the problem with guys getting out of sync as much because they've had the ball in their hand for too long. If it was early in the season or something, it'd be different. But no, these guys have. I think it's more beneficial now. And then part of the job description is defining when it's too much, and trying to decide when you're going on the other side of when you had too much time off or too little. I mean, every guy's different too. You don't throw a blanket. Tommy's different than Darren, and Darren's different than Mattis, and Mattis is different than Jimmy. My closer, who's leading the American League in saves, said tonight's the night I need to pitch. He pitches. We have that type of conversation every day. I don't think McFarland's having that conversation with me, but we started the bunting and hittings today, getting ready for interleague. I won't describe it any other way than just interleague. There's going to be an interleague game played the last week of the season. I was looking at the tentative stages spring training schedule next year. Should be fun for the fans coming down to Sarasota. Some good games.
Well, you had Scott Feldman in Texas. Did he have a defined role as a starter or relief pitcher? Or when did he sort of go?
He did a little bit of both.
Did he?
I think he did a little bit of both. Mark Connor was very instrumental in evaluation. I thought really making everybody aware of how good Scotty could be. He was a constant voice of support for Scott. Scotty was a good hitter. He's a left-handed hitter. I think he led his team in hitting a couple of years in college or high school. I'm not sure. He's a lot more athletic than people think he is, and that's what caught your eye originally. Repeating the delivery. He's got his work cut out for him tonight, but I remember the first time I saw him over on field 3 in Surprise. Mark asked me to just kind of go over and take a look at him. Really liked what he'd seen on a work day. I think he was 20. I remember he was a young junior, if I remember right, or young. He wasn't the normal age for a guy coming out at his stage. But he was down under. He's had a history of winning too, in college and high school. If you look back through his track record, he's always seems to have found a way to win games.
How significant was that when the Orioles were looking to deal for him, that you had a history and you knew things beyond the stat sheet.
We thought he could pitch. We talked about him a lot in the offseason. You know, we would have liked to, you know, we talked a lot about him and another guy that kind of fit in where we were and who we were and what we wanted to do, and just took a little while to acquire him. We knew he'd fit on our team personality-wise and what he brings, and you know, it's a pretty seamless transition into the locker room because when he's been in the American League, he knows about 6 or 7 people in there, and you know, for some reason, the reputation of playing here in Baltimore is pretty good around baseball now. So, you know, it's a destination that you know, I think it's got a lot to do with the players. I think 99% of it got to do with the players and who they are and the respect they have around the league for the way they play. Scotty's been a good addition, and he'd been a guy that I would have, and we would have had our eyes on if we didn't have a prior relationship with him. Rick knew him real well. Adair had some scouts that knew Scotty real well. You had a question?
With Hamill going tomorrow, I mean, he talked about, you know, before the All-Star break, trying to get away from everything and, you know, refocus. You know, he struggled a little bit at Kansas City, but, you know, have you seen anything different with him?
Well, the end product was pretty good at Kansas City. He'd be the first to tell you they squared some things up, and we just didn't swing the bats very well. That outing may have been looked at differently if we'd swung the bats a little bit better, but you know, we know it's there. I can't tell you he's going to have it. Seemed like Ham's fallen on a lot of day games lately. Seemed like he's had a lot, but the whole year. But I don't know. I look as every day as the day that he's going to, you know, roll off a lot of quality starts. I hope it starts tomorrow. But I know that probably going to catch Teagarden tomorrow and give Matt the benefit of 2 days off the field. I want to kind of start with that thing I want to do here over these off days.
Look at a guy like, I mean, when you first got here, I know you wouldn't necessarily compare it to that stuff, but I mean, there were a lot of, I don't want to say questions, but some guys talent-wise that you were looking at and stuff. Now, you know, when a guy like Jason Hamill isn't pitching well and he's maybe one of the bigger concerns, is that almost, in a way, a good thing for the Orioles in that, I mean, you know, he's got talent, he's done it before, he's got a track record, so when a guy like that is the 5th starter and is, you know, is struggling a little bit, I mean, does that kind of say something about where this organization...
I think it says something about the people that have, the other 4 guys, you know, because there's a lot of people that love to have a Ham, but maybe not as much as we do. It's not like he's pitched poorly all year. It's just I think it becomes more under a microscope when other guys are pitching well. You know, we have Chin back now. Miggy's giving us a chance, and Feldman's giving us a chance, and of course Tilly. So you could go around baseball, and I'd challenge you to find 5 starters, exception maybe Tampa Bay, that, you know, I'm just reeling it off every time out there. But it doesn't give, you know, Ham wants to and can, but it's hard to do. Starting pitching in the American League East is hard to do.
And Buck Showalter, pregame comments. We're just about set for baseball. We're going to take a break and come back. Lineups and first pitch are just ahead. And Birds trying to make it back-to-back wins. Let's get a look at our Train game time temperature. The rain has left. Train is celebrating its 100th anniversary by offering irresistible financing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. 77 degrees. The wind's now out of the south-southeast, and oh, did that humidity rise 74% as that rain shower came through downtown. So the Orioles looking to make it back-to-back wins. Here's the Red Sox lineup for tonight. Boston at 61 and 43. Jacoby Ellsbury, Shane Victorino, and Dustin Pedroia, with David Ortiz DHing. Ortiz, the top DH in baseball, 323, 19 home runs, and 65 RBIs. Mike Napoli at first, and Mike Carp at left. Jared Saltalamacchia will catch. Stephen Drew at shortstop, and Jose Iglesias at third base will bat ninth.
And here's the scouting report tonight for Scott Feldman. He's looking to keep rolling. He's coming off his best start as an Oriole when he pitched 8 strong innings, giving up just 5 hits and a couple earned runs. And he would love to back up Tillman's performance in last night's game with a good one of his own. And he needs to pitch to the defense. Yeah, the defense the Orioles are throwing out there is the best in all of baseball. Feldman's ground ball rate is up over 50%. So look for him to keep them active tonight. And the curve is king. Wow, what a great gear changer it is off his fastball and cutter at 75 miles an hour. He has a great ability to throw it for strikes and bury it for swing and miss pitches. There's his numbers on the year. The opponent batting average at 237, lefties hitting just 235, and righties at 240.
So Feldman will go to work. He and Ryan Dempster neither warmed up before they had to, as the rain came during the Red Sox batting practice, so the field was covered. And then once they determined approximately what time the starting time will be, the starters headed out to the bullpen. So Feldman goes to work on Jacoby Ellsbury. You see his numbers, batting at 303, 4 home runs, and 34 RBIs. So rain delay, it'll be just under half an hour, but fortunately, it looks like we're pretty good overhead as the Orioles and Red Sox battle it out. Feldman deals, and we are underway, and there is strike one. There's Feldman, now 30 years old. He was acquired on July the 2nd as Dan Duquette got ahead of the trade curve and making his 5th start already as an Oriole. And the 0-1 is inside, and 1-1 the count.
Feldman's actually pitched very well. I mentioned his last start where he went 8 strong innings, but the start before that through 7 1/3. So a couple back-to-back strong outings for Feldman, really settling into this Orioles rotation.
Over but low, and 2-1 on Jacoby Ellsbury. Well, Feldman, in his 4 starts with the Orioles, 3 of those quality starts. He has made 2 starts here at Camden Yards and 2 starts on the road as an Oriole. Ellsbury fouls it back, and the count even 2-2.
I love how Buck Showalter was talking about Scott Feldman and just mentioning how his character really fits well in this Orioles clubhouse. And I think that's a fear of a lot of managers and general managers when they make trades at the deadline. Is it going to disrupt the chemistry of the clubhouse? And this move here by getting Scott Feldman hasn't changed it at all. Certainly possibly made it better with his veteran leadership.
Slow roller towards second. Roberts will charge, and he gets the speedy Ellsbury and 1 away here in the first.
And here is a look at the best defense in baseball behind Feldman tonight. McLeod, Jones, and Markakis in the outfield. Hardy and Roberts once again up the middle with Machado and Davis on the corners. And Matt Wieters, the Gold Glove catcher, behind the plate.
Well, 1 away in the first. And here is Shane Victorino. Switch hitter will bat left. Victorino at 283, his first season with Boston. Comes in 5 for his last 24. Machado's going to play in tight at third, protecting against a possible bunt, and it's over with low, 1-0. Now you see the pinching in a little bit. Even Davis at first has shortened up, and straight away at short and second with Hardy and Roberts. And a bouncer foul on the first base side, 1-1. Shane Victorino, a veteran. He was brought in to add some leadership to this team. The Red Sox this past offseason really did a good job, Mike, going out and getting veteran players from other organizations, in particular winning players from other organizations.
Well, that is a big key. I think when teams, certainly teams that want to contend, go after players that have had that playoff type experience, and Victorino has certainly been a key and played in a lot of postseason ball games. So certainly will help. I think the Orioles look for that as well. Winning players, guys that have that desire to make it to the postseason.
Curveball high, and the count to 3-1 on Victorino. Feldman was a 30th round draft pick at the Texas Rangers back in 2003. How about that? 30th round pick, and he's in the bigs in a major league rotation. And there's a fastball for a strike. Looked like Victorino was taken all the way, and it's 3-2. He was in the Rangers organization through the end of last year. Signed a free agent contract with the Cubs, just a one-year deal, and then traded over here to the Orioles. And the 3-2, a broken back ground ball to second. Roberts busy in the first, and he gets the hustling Victorino and 2 men down.
Well, there's a confidence in that breaking ball, and here's a look at the Verizon Fios. Inside the numbers, the improvement on Scott Feldman's curveball. Last year held opponents to 195 batting average and a 322 slugging percentage. That's pretty darn good, but look at the improvement here in 2013. Just a 167 batting average, a very low slugging percentage at 278. And we just saw him throw a 3-2 breaking ball to Victorino right there to induce that weakly hit ground ball to second.
Here is Dustin Pedroia batting third for the Sox, and he'll look at a fastball for a strike. Pedroia having another good year, although he comes into this game just 3 for his last 27, which if you're Buck Showalter, you don't want to hear. You hope he figures it out on Monday after the Red Sox leave town. Feldman works quickly, and there's a pitch on the outside corner. So quickly 0-2 on Dustin Pedroia. You like the confidence that Feldman possesses on the mound. He gets the ball. Wieters puts a sign. He's ready to go to work.
That's right. Quick tempo. That is big. It certainly keeps the defense on their toes.
Bounces in there, and Pedroia lays off. A ball and 2 strikes. Feldman in his career 48 and 51. He was 7-6 with the Cubs this year. Cubs, of course, are now in a major rebuilding mode. So to have a winning record with a losing team is pretty good. 1-2 to Pedroia in the dirt. Designed to have him chase, and Pedroia laid off. Buck Showalter's team, a winning record against the Red Sox. Birds have gone 6-2 against Boston, and the Orioles are the only team in the division that Boston does not have a winning record against. Orioles knocked them out of first place with a win last night. And over but low again, and 3-2. The Red Sox had been in first place every day since May the 27th up until last night. Tampa Bay passed them last night, and the Rays have already won again today, shutting out the Yankees in New York 1-0. The final there. Well, 3-2 with 2 men down, and a foul back. Came in with another breaking ball there. Pedroia able to foul it off.
Well, a lot of confidence in that pitch, and I think as the game progresses, you're going to see him use that a lot more. He does a great job of mixing up his pitches consistently throughout the ball game, but there is a definite increase in his breaking ball usage as the game goes on, second and third time through the order.
3-2 is fouled off, and here's a typical Boston Red Sox at bat, fouling off pitches, prolonging at bats. The 8th pitch will be coming to Pedroia in this at-bat. They lead the major leagues in pitches seen per plate appearance. That is not only a desired style to try to get the pitch count elevated, but by prolonging at-bats, hopefully the pitcher makes a mistake and you get a better pitch to hit.
Well, exactly. And that's the key.
Another 3-2 to Pedroia is bounced to third. Manny's there. Pedroia's out, and Feldman has a 3-up, 3-down first on 3 ground balls. We'll head to the bottom of the first at Camden Yards. Red Sox don't score, and here come the Birds. on hand on this Saturday night as the Orioles and Red Sox battle it out for the positioning in the AL East. Here's the Orioles lineup for tonight. Cloud, Machado, Markakis with Adam Jones in the cleanup spot. Pair of home runs last night and 3 RBIs. Davis, Wieters, and Hardy with the Rudy at DHing. Brian Roberts at second base. Pat's ninth.
And here's a scouting report for Ryan Dempster. He is looking to right the ship. They've lost 6 out of their last 10 and fallen out of first place. And this veteran pitcher knows how to mix it up.
McLeod, first ball swinging, pops it up, shallow left, and out is the shortstop Drew, and he stays with it. 1 pitch, 1 down in the first.
Now finish up the scouting report here. He does mix it up. He's got a fastball, slider, and a split finger, and he, much like Feldman, will mix up his pitches throughout the count, keep the Orioles hitters guessing. He changes his pitch selection and location, and he exploits the impatience. If the Orioles hitters are going to chase on the edges of the plate, he's going to keep working out there. Here are the numbers on the year. 5-8 record. He does have 108 strikeouts with 54 base on balls to go with that 4.28 earned run average.
Manny Machado now shows bunt, takes a strike on the inside corner. Manny is now tied for 9th in the league in batting at .303 off his 2-hit game last night. And a little bit low and 1-1 the count. Ryan Dempster, now 36 years old. He was drafted by the Texas Rangers, so you have 2 starters opposing each other tonight, both drafted by Texas. And Dempster was drafted in 1995. 1-1 has popped up. Straight back of the plate. There's Saltalamacchia. And an easy play for the second out. So 2 quick outs recorded by Dempster.
And here's a look at the Red Sox defense behind Dempster tonight. Carp in left, Ellsbury back in center field, and Victorino in right with Drew and Pedroia up the middle. Iglesias at third base. Napoli once again over at first, and Saltalamacchia back behind the plate.
Well, here's Nick Markakis in the exact same spot he was last night. 2 outs and nobody on in the first, and Markakis got a base hit to keep the inning alive, and Jones then followed with a home run. Nick now has a 5-game hitting streak going, and he looks over ball 1. During the hitting streak, 8 for 21, a .381 clip, and he has scored 3 runs. Jim Tresley has been tinkering with the stance of Markakis, and you can explain this better than me because you've been in those sessions about loading up. Explain to me what Prez is trying to get Markakis to do.
Well, trying to get that weight back on the backside so he can see the ball a little bit better. I think Markakis goes through some stages where he tinkers with his stance and approach quite a few times, but he's been a little bit wider, and that's not allowing to get back and stay back and see the ball as well as he's capable of doing. So I think the work with Presley, trying to get him on that backside a little bit more, recognize the pitch, and then attack from there.
Yeah, his stance does look different from that side angle. Here's the 2-0 pitch, and it's outside ball 3. So by keeping the weight back, does that better keep you in balance? Is that what the desire is?
Well, obviously there is a weight shift in your balance, but what it does is it limits the head movement when you recognize what pitch is coming.
And a 4-pitch walk for Markakis, so seeing the ball very well, and a 2-out base runner.
Take a look at the Verizon Fios inside the numbers here for Ryan Dempster. Home runs by year for 9 innings this year, way up to 1.56. Of course, he's had good numbers 2010, 11, and 12. Last year down to .99, but it has taken off. Some mistake pitches up in the zone have cost him with the long ball. Verizon Fios, making life more entertaining with America's fastest, most reliable internet. That's powerful.
Adam Jones, just as he did in the game last night, comes up with Markakis on a 2 down in the first. And the pitch is high, 1-0. Adam is now tied for 8th in home runs in the league with his 22. And he is tied for 4th in RBIs with 74. The Orioles have 2 of the top 4 RBI men in baseball with Chris Davis and Adam Jones. Big healthy cut at the all-speed pitch, and he missed it. 1-1 on Adam Jones.
A pretty good pitch from Dempster. Stayed on that outside corner. Nice little bend on the slider there just to keep it off the bad head of Jones.
Dempster out of British Columbia, the second most wins in the majors from any pitcher ever from British Columbia. The other is in the Hall of Fame, Ferguson Jenkins. Here's the 1-1, high fly ball to center field. He got under it. Ellsbury is there, moves in on it. Jones retired, and the Orioles down in the first. 2 out walk and 1 left. Second inning coming up at Camden Yards. Sox and O's, no score. Home run here at Camden Yards in 35 1/3 innings pitched in his career. The second longest streak in park history. The longest held by reliever Mark Eichhorn, 43 1/3. How about that?
Yeah, there aren't many pitchers that can get away with that here at Camden Yards, especially in the summertime when it heats up. This is certainly a hitter-friendly park in the middle of summer.
Feldman has allowed 1 home run in his 4 starts as an Oriole. 19 pitch first inning. David Ortiz will lead off. Napoli and Karp will follow. Ortiz is having a good year, and you see the shift on against him. A modified shift, and Feldman deals a breaking ball that's low, 1-0. Ortiz with a 7-game hitting streak coming in. He is 4th in the league in batting at .323. A little bit low, ball 2. Feldman now in his 9th season in the big leagues. Pop foul, third base side. That'll be back in the crowd, it appears. Machado over, but no play. David Ortiz facing Feldman here tonight. That's a matchup that favors Ortiz. He has the best batting average in the American League against right-handed pitching. .355 on the year against righties.
Wow. Some good numbers. He's certainly a great hitter, and has been throughout his whole career.
You see the shift on against him with Roberts in shallow right, Machado at short, Hardy up the middle. Off speed pitch that bounces in there. We're out of the glove of Wieters, so 3-1. You see Feldman being very careful with David Ortiz. Ortiz now in his 17th big league season. Foul back, good cut, 3-2. Ortiz, out of the Dominican Republic, signed with Seattle back in 1992, and he was traded to Minnesota when he was an A-ball. So you kind of feel like, yeah, he came up with the Twins. Terry Crowley was his hitting coach back at the time, but he actually signed with Seattle. And then he was non-tendered by the Twins and signed with the Red Sox. 3-2 is outside, ball 4, and there's a leadoff walk. So very good batting eye for David Ortiz, and he draws the walk. Today's Masson word of the day is drive. Text drive to 29292 for your chance to win a 3-day family 4-pack of tickets to the Baltimore Grand Prix presented by SRT. Stay tuned all week long for more chances to win with Masson. Well, the first base runner for the Red Sox, here's Mike Napoli. Napoli, you see at 264, 14 home runs, 63 RBIs. Ortiz chuckling with Chris Davis at first base. And there's a strike taken, 0-1. We talked about the Red Sox, Mike, and Boston leading the majors in pitches seen per plate appearance. Here's the guy that has seen more pitches than anybody per plate appearance, 4.5 for Napoli. So he waits and tries to wait out a pitcher. Swings through at 0-2.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, especially in the spot that Napoli is, certain situations are going to call for him to be a little bit more aggressive early in the count if he wants to drive a ball, potential drive runs in, those type of situations there. But certainly a great hitter and has proven it throughout his career. Very consistent numbers, both power numbers and slugging numbers as well.
Feldman ahead of him, no balls and 2 strikes. Popped up foul. Wide of first. May be fair. Nope, it's going to stay foul, and Davis has it. He went to the line and looked up, and it looked like the ball had that reverse spin on it, but Chris stays with it, and the pop foul and 1 away. So big out for Feldman. Feldman is 13-10 in his career against the AL East. And one of the things that front offices and managers in their discussions when they look for potential players to help their team, when you're in this division, that's the first thing you look at. How have they fared, and what is their makeup to pitch in this division? It is very, very tough when you have to battle these teams 18 and 19 times a year. Mike Karp, first ball swinging towards the hole. Roberts, the spin, gets the lead runner at second, and no throw back to first. Outstanding footwork there by Mike Bordick, making sure he got that lead runner.
Well, J.J. Hardy, I think Mike Bordick did have good footwork on the double play as well. But yeah, J.J. Hardy got out of the way there. Take a look at the ground ball. Brian Roberts showing the range to his glove side. Quick snap throw. A beautiful play by Brian Roberts here to try to get this double play, but Ortiz bearing down on Hardy, unable to complete it.
You weren't impressed with that little jump step, Bordick? You taught Brian Roberts that, I thought. Weren't you his personal coach there for a while?
Yeah, I guess so.
2 outs here. Saltalamacchia with Karp at first base. And the pitch taken inside, 1-0. Karp did not play in the game last. Oh, excuse me. Saltalamacchia is up. Karp just bounced out. Saltalamacchia, switch hitter, batting left. 256. He is in a 3-for-21 drought. And the Orioles again are overshifting on Saltalamacchia. Here's a strike taken, 1-1. Feldman born in Hawaii and then grew up in California. See, Hardy's on the second base side.
Yeah, always shifting. I think the Orioles have taken over the lead, most aggressive defensive team as far as implementing the shift, and they are moving throughout counts as well. Manny Machado really kind of setting the tone over there on the left side, because he has the versatility to play so deep. He can get out on the grass and cover so much room on the left side of that field that allows the shift to really work to the Orioles' advantage.
Healthy cut, and he fouled it back, 2-2. Saltalamacchia has already been well traveled in his career. First round pick of Atlanta, and he was traded over to Texas in what was one of the great trades in baseball history for the Rangers. When Teixeira and Ron Mayhew went to Atlanta, the Rangers got back Elvis Andrus, Neftali Feliz, Matt Harrison, Saltalamacchia, and another minor league pitcher, Bo Jones. Ground ball towards second. Roberts right there in the shift. Saltalamacchia retired. And the inning ends. Feldman works around a leadoff walk, one left, mid-second at Camden Yards. O's and Red Sox, no score. KC has already won $500 just by being selected. And will win $100 more for every Orioles hit during the game tonight, and an extra $500 for any Orioles home run hit in the 5th inning. For your chance to be the Maryland Lottery hit a big contestant of the game, play 5-card cash. Go to mdlottery.com/Orioles to enter. Getting married but still have a crush on number 19. Here is Crush Davis, who is looking for his first crush since the All-Star break, and takes high from Ryan Dempster, 1-0. Wieters on deck, then Hardy. Chris still leads in home runs with 37, leads in RBIs with 97. Here's a strike taken, 1-1. Dempster is very much a strikeout pitcher. He averages about 8.5 per 9 innings, so nearly 1 per inning.
Well, he uses his split finger like Feldman uses his breaking ball. And there's a look at it right there. 78 miles an hour. He has the ability to throw that pitch for a strike when he wants to, or to get a swing and miss like that one at the bottom of the zone.
Davis hitting at .307 on the year, and a good take there. 8th in the league in batting, so very much like David Ortiz on the other side, the Red Sox slugger. Chris is more than just a slugger. He's also got that batting average up there at .307, so 8th best in the league. Strike 3 called on the inside corner. Davis staring down in disbelief. And the first strikeout for Dempster, and 1 away.
Now, Chris didn't like that pitch, but take a look at the Nissan pitch track. A little two-seamer that came back over and caught that inside corner at 88 miles an hour. Chris doesn't think it did. Pretty good movement on that pitch right there from Dempster.
Chris does not agree. He has now struck out in 21 consecutive games. Here's Matt Wieters batting left. Switch hitter against Dempster, and he'll take ball 1. Matt has really been swinging the bat well. Batting average now at .247. He's got 14 home runs and 48 RBIs. Ball 2 is Dempster misses high. Wieters, since the All-Star break, working with Jim Presley on the consistent stroke, has 5 multi-hit games since the break. High fly ball, shallow left center field. Charging in on it is Carp. And the left fielder gets there for the out. And 2 men down as Wieters is retired. Fans, the Orioles and Sox will wrap up this 3-game weekend series tomorrow. It is a 1:35 day game here at Oriole Park. So come on out and help us paint the ballpark orange. Birds battle the Sox in The battle for the AL East crown. Good seats remain, but they are going fast. So come on out and back your birds and spend a Sunday afternoon with family and friends at Oriole Park. For your tickets, 888-848-BIRD, or if you prefer, just go online at Orioles.com. Here's J.J. Hardy taking a strike. And I noticed that the food bank drive, a lot of the fans do buy the tickets online. They print them at home because their tickets is a piece of paper from the printer. As Hardy pops it foul, back out of play. And J.J. Hardy last night hit his 18th home run, most among Major League shortstops. So what a threat he is lower in the lineup for the Orioles.
Boy, he sure is. Those 18 home runs come at big times. Of course, that was a big tack-on run. When you're playing against the East, you need to put up some marks, as many as possible.
Chopper out in front of the plate, races on. Saltalamacchia gets it to first, and somehow Napoli kept his foot on the bag. So Dempster has a strong inning as the Orioles go 3 up, 3 down. Through 2 at Camden Yards. Those are Red Sox. We have no score. By T-Mobile. Now your choice is simple. T-Mobile, unleash. And by Chevrolet, find new roads. If you go out on Utah Street, there's a plaque for every home run that lands there. There's a Chris Davis plaque. June 30th, 2012. It's some raindrops in the plaque out there. No one has ever hit the warehouse during a game. That is a plaque. Mr. Davis may one day.
He may. Certainly strong enough to do it.
I think if it's ever going to be done, it's going to have to be right down the line to cut down the distance between where the foul pole is and the warehouse.
Yeah.
He's got Feldman at 34 pitches. He's allowed just one base runner on a walk. Same for Dempster, one base runner on a walk. Here is Stephen Drew leading off. And he will take a strike. Drew in a 1-for-15 drought, hitting at just .223. He's got 55 hits, 25 of those hits extra bases. The curveball stays outside. 1-1 on Drew. He is no longer a youngster, now 30 years old in his 8th season. Just inside and 2-1. A lot going on in the stands here tonight. Mostly Orioles fans, but there are some Red Sox fans here. And every time the Red Sox fans try to start a chant, the Oriole fans boo them back.
Yeah.
That ball's ripped to right field for the game's first base hit. Markakis over to play the carom. Drew is thinking too, and he puts on the brakes. What a job by Nick Markakis. He just saved a double. Oh, does he play the carom?
Yeah, he plays right field here at Camden Yards better than anybody. Certainly he gets more reps out there, but this is a bullet hops off the wall, but look at Markakis with the bare hand, gets himself in a good position right back into the infield. And Brian Roberts almost had a shot at back-picking Drew. He hustles in. He was expecting a double all the way off the bat, but Markakis, Gold Glover, holds him to a single.
Here is Jose Iglesias, the number 9 batter. Let's see what John Farrell does. Iglesias is in a 3-for-24 drought. Will he be asked to lay down a bunt? And he will be, and he pulls the bat back and takes ball 1. He does not have a sacrifice on the year. Drew has 3 steals. He has not been caught. Those teams usually don't run against Weeders. Orioles have caught 40% of potential base stealers on the year, and Feldman keeping them close.
Well, early in a ball game, and I think the Red Sox with Farrell, pretty aggressive offensive team. You saw the bunt, showing the bunt, but potentially a hit and run could be in the works. I know not many teams do run on Weeders, but they need to somehow try to ignite this offense a little bit. They've been scuffling since the All-Star break.
Ball got away from Davis, but just did fall at his feet. Now, of course, the sacrifice early in games, you can debate whether giving up an out is the best way to go about it. Boston obviously does not believe so. You look at the career stolen base numbers of Stephen Drew. Only 2 teams in the American League have sacrificed fewer times than Boston. Runner goes, swinging a foul, and it will stay foul. Iglesias hit it right down in the dirt, so the hit and run was on, not the sacrifice. The White Sox and Oakland are the other 2 teams. Of course, Oakland, Billy Ball, they don't believe in giving up outs, and the White Sox are play for the beginning team, as is Boston.
Sure. Well, exactly. I mean, I think the bunt is really, it's almost become a type of thing of the past. You know, I think so many teams, you know, they don't like giving up outs, especially early in a ball game. You see a lot of managers, if they do try to lay down a sacrifice bunt, it'll be in the late in the game when it's just a 1-run ball game. They need that to push that run across the plate to win a game. But early in games, you don't see teams bunt for the 1 run anymore early in games.
1-1 on Iglesias. Drew goes again. The pitch is swung on and hit towards first base, and Davis will play it and step on the base for the out. And 1 away here. So on the hit and run, Iglesias does hit behind the runner. Drew is at second base. Well, tomorrow, fans are encouraged to bring any non-perishable food items or cash donations to help support the Orioles Reach Food and Funds Drive. The Orioles wives, Oriole advocates, WJZ TV personalities will be at each ballpark gate collecting your donations to benefit the Maryland Food Bank. For complete details, visit OriolesReach.com. And we want to welcome all of our viewers watching in tonight. Masson on WJZ. I saw Vic Carter from their news, Kai Jackson from their news. They were at the gate helping collect the food. Couple of nice guys. Love the Orioles. And we want to send a welcome to all of those watching on Armed Forces Network around the world. Orioles and Red Sox from Camden Yards in Baltimore. And a strike is taken by Jacoby Ellsbury. Drew at second. First time in the game a runner has reached second base. Last night Boston had only 2 opportunities, 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. That's how well Tillman pitched. And they get one here in the 3rd inning in a scoreless game. Breaking ball and a base hit to left field. Drew got a late start. He'll be held by Brian Butterfield. Well, the pitch was out on the outer part of the plate, and Ellsbury, real good back control, goes with it.
Yeah, it was a little 2-seamer down and away, or actually a breaking ball, excuse me. He stayed on it. Just used his hands and pushed it through that 5-6 hole.
And I'm not sure what's going on here, but apparently the runner Drew is being sent back to second base by Tim Timmons. If there was catcher's interference, it's a dead ball if the bat hit Weeder's glove. That's Mike Winters, the crew chief.
Take a look at Ellsbury's swing here. Backing this breaking ball up. Did hit Matt Waiters. You saw him flinch there just after contact.
Buck Showalter, who knows the rules better than every umpire, he wants an explanation about what they called and why they're allowing Stephen Drew to stay at third base when initially Timmons was ordering him back to second base. So whatever the explanation, Buck may not be satisfied, but he accepts it and he'll go back to the Oriole bench.
Take another look at what the call was and why both managers went out to talk with the umpire. Ellsbury backing that breaking ball up, and it catches Matt Waiters right on the top of the glove, and you see him pull it back there. And the quick call by home plate umpire Tim Timmons.
So runners at first and third and one down. First rally in the game for either team. Waiters out in front of the plate. He is signaling to the middle infielders what he will do in the event Ellsbury takes off for first base. Ellsbury leads the American League in steals. Here's Victorino, who grounded out his first at bat. And a strike on the inside corner. So the ball put in play, and the umpires ruled single over the catcher's interference because the ball was put in play.
Right.
Ellsbury 37 out of 40 in stolen base attempts. Quick throw to first, and Ellsbury back. Feldman has struggled on the year with the Cubs and with the Orioles in holding base runners or quickly delivering to the plate. There have been 18 stolen bases against Feldman when he's on the mound. Ellsbury runs, pitches taken off the glove, and that'll be a stolen base. Victorino squared around as Ellsbury took off. Thought it might have hit the bat, but it just squirted off the glove of Waiters.
Yeah, two-seam fastball here. Ellsbury with a pretty good jump. He's keeping his head in there, making sure, see what Victorino does, but it's just a deke, and that ball goes down and away from Waiters. Just kind of kicks off his heel and away. Matt Waiters coming out of the chute a little too quick on that one.
So second and third and one down. Two in scoring position for the Sox, and 1-1 the count on Victorino. Slow roller towards second base. A run will score. Roberts gets it to first to get Victorino. Coming in to score the game's first run is Stephen Drew. So Boston playing some small ball here. A single, a ground out to advance the runner, a single and a ground out, and it's 1-0 Boston.
Well, Feldman did a really good job inducing some weak contact, and unfortunately just the right placement there. Brian Roberts playing back, of course, and that allowed Drew to score easily.
Well, here is a tough out with two down and a runner at third, Dustin Pedroia. Pedroia grounded out to Machado to end the first inning. Feldman misses down and away, 1-0. For Victorino, RBI number 27. Pedroia is 6th in the league in base hits with 122. Real good contact hitter. And he is right up there. He has 37 multi-hit games.
And he doesn't get cheated when he swings. He has a very unique approach. When he sees the ball in the zone, a pitch he likes, he just lets it fly. Once he gets to 2 strikes, then you'll see him work the field a little bit. He does have pretty good bat control, but early in the count, he's trying to do some damage.
1-1 is over but low, ball 2. Feldman trying to keep this to a 1-run inning. He's allowed a couple of hits. Pitch count now approaching 50 as he works here in the third inning. Pedroia's ahead, 2-1. Foul back to the right. And that heads up to the upper deck. Pedroia, Rookie of the Year back in 2007. The following year, he won the MVP. That's pretty good first 2 years.
Yeah, real good.
Fans getting behind Feldman. 2-2 the count with a runner at third. And a bouncer towards short. Hardy gets him at first, and the inning is over. Feldman works out of it. Just the one run on 2 hits. Mid-third at Camden Yards. Boston has taken the lead. Adrian Marine, the shortstop at Delmarva. He is on a tear, Mike. Look at those numbers in the past 10 games. Just a pick last year, 3rd round by the Orioles.
Yeah, a great pick, obviously, for the Orioles. Another shortstop like Manny Machado out of the Miami area. Last 10 games, 351 with a homer and 3 RBIs. Couple doubles in there as well. And look at the numbers on the season. 87 games, 282. Couple home runs, 36 runs batted in, and 8 stolen bases. Now it's a pretty good bat right there for a kid that's known as a glove specialist. I mean, he can move around, has a lot of tools. Good sign for the Orioles.
Henry Urrutia will lead off. Birds down by a run, and there's a strike. Urrutia now on his 2nd week in the big leagues. Came up last Friday. He's got a 3-game hitting streak working. And the Red Sox, knowing his ability to hit it the opposite way, are crunching up on that left side. Iglesias is well wide of the bag. And look at Drew, Mike. He's towards the hole.
Yeah, they're implementing a little shift over there. Knowing that Urrutia has just been wearing out that left side since he's been up. Take a look. Verizon Fios inside the numbers shows it here. 6 hits to left field, 2 to right field. Now he has 8 hits in 7 games, so teams are going to start to make the adjustment defensively. But Urrutia does a great job of pulling his hands inside the ball. We've seen teams try to get inside on him and still has that great ability to find the bat head.
Line drive caught by Drew for the out. So Urrutia hit it sharply, but one away. Orioles still looking for their first base hit. Big crowd on hand at Camden Yards, Saturday Night Baseball. And the Red Sox with a run in the top half. My 6th birthday and I want to win. And the Orioles want to give it to you.
There is somebody 6 years old behind that sign, I'm sure. Shares the same birthday as Ryan Flaherty.
That's right.
And Flaherty wants a win as well.
Ryan Roberts right to Napoli. So 2 line drives in the inning and 2 down as Dempster Retires the first two batters. Let's get a look at our Hollywood Casino League leaders. Well, the most hits since the All-Star break. Reyes has 13. Matt Weeder is tied with Pujols at 12. And Nate McLouth and 8 others are tied with 11. Slots, tables, and dining. The ultimate triple play at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. Nate, who swung at the first pitch, his first at bat, takes a strike. McLouth, like Weeders, 5 multi-hit games since the All-Star break. And a base hit to right field. So the Orioles get their first hit. It comes with 2 down in the third. So McLouth stays hot.
That's three consecutive line drives right there. Nate McLouth finally finding a hole in this Red Sox defense.
So now we'll see if the Orioles will send McLouth. Boston's had a real tough time catching base runners on the year, and opposing base stealers at 12 out of 13 against Dempster. Manny popped foul to Saltalamacchia's first at bat. McLouth edging his lead. He is tied for third with 25 stolen bases, and he draws a throw.
You saw McLouth there start with a shorter lead. Now, you had mentioned Dempster, he really doesn't have the ability to keep guys. He has slow times to home plate, but he starts with the ball in his hand. So McLouth starts a little closer until he comes set. Well aware of that quick snap throw potential.
McLouth is 25 out of 29. He has not been running as much lately as he did in the first part of the season. And there's a number of reasons for that. 1-0 on Machado. And there's a strike taken. The other thing that this presents, Mike, now if you're the hitter, if you're Machado, you love McLouth at first base. Look at the hole over there.
Oh, yeah. And Manny's shown that all year. He has a great ability to use that hole. So quite an advantage. And pitchers have to be a little bit more aggressive with McLouth at first base and his speed. So we might see more fastballs. So great spot for Machado to hit.
Pitch out. He wasn't going in 2-1. See Wayne Kirby, he has the stopwatch, so he'll relay the time of that pitch out to the plate. And if they believe, explain to us, a favorable time, he's going, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now for McLouth, I think anything, even like 115, 120, that's an automatic. McLouth has done that this year. So, but he's a great student over there at first base. He reads pitchers very well with the help of Wayne Kirby. I mean, they were really aggressive that first half of the season. You look for them to turn it up again here in the second half. When it becomes crunch time and these runs become so valuable, for him to get in the scoring position here, he won't be aggressive.
Nate has just 1 stolen base in July. That was July 20th at Texas. And he told us that teams are just taking it away from him, and he doesn't want to run into outs. If it's there, he'll go, but if he doesn't feel it's there, he doesn't want to run into an out, which in this case would end the inning. 2-2 on Machado after the foul ball. Nate extends his lead. Draws a throw and diving back in.
Well, Nate McLouth, like so many of the Orioles players, very heady and smart on the field. Obviously not wanting to run into outs is a key, because when you have Manny Machado hitting behind you, and of course Nick Markakis and Chris Davis, there are some thumpers that could potentially hit the long ball. So you don't want to give up that out and run into one.
Machado continues to lead the American League in doubles with 39. But he has gone 71 at-bats without a double. Gives you an idea just how hot he was early on to still have the lead. McLouth doesn't go, and it's in the dirt. Ball 3. Well, he'll be going now. Manny will try to find a gap, try to get this game tied. There's a ton of room in left center field. Ellsbury shading just a shade towards right center, and Karp is towards the line in left field. Napoli coming over to inform Dempster where he will play defensively, and it looks like he's going to go behind McLeod. He's going to go anyway. 3-2 with 2 men down. Boston with a 1-0 lead. Orioles trying to answer here in the bottom of the third. McLeod runs, ground ball, foul. Right down the line, but foul, and Manny broke his back. Well, Nate got the legs loose. He'll head back to first.
And certainly one of the risks about playing behind Nate McLeod. You give him that extra step, and Manny Machado, of course, leading the league in doubles. You get one in the gap, and McLeod will score easily with that speed and that extra step. So Napoli right there behind him, trying to limit that extra step as he bounces off.
And the 3-2 is lined down the left field line. That's got a chance. That is a foul ball. Just foul. McLeod easily would have scored, but the ball faded foul.
Pretty good pass here from Manny Machado. He hammers this one right down the line, but gets out in front a little bit, and it hooks about 4 or 5 feet foul. Pretty close, and like you mentioned, McLeod would have scored easily if that was fair.
But Showalter, watching a real quality at bat by Machado, is about to see the 8th pitch in this at bat. And Dempster is bothered somewhat by the speed of McLeod at first. 3-2 is in the dirt, ball 4. Saltalamacchia keeps it in front, and Machado draws a 2-out walk to get 2 on with 2 out.
That's a really good at bat by Manny Machado. Had to show some patience early, thinking that McLeod might try to steal a bag, but worked at the 3-2, then fouled off some tough pitches to draw that big walk, and now we're getting into the heart of the Orioles' order.
Last night in the game, the Orioles had 2 rallies which started with 2 outs and nobody on. And each time it was with Jones, the home run, and 2-out runs. The Orioles 32.2%, and amazingly, Mike, only Milwaukee has scored fewer, the percentage of runs, with 2 men down. It seems like with 160 runs scored with 2 down, that'd be a higher percentage, but it's not. As Markakis looks for a big hit here, and he fouls it back. Now, the Tigers have 205 runs scored with 2 outs, and Cleveland 203, St. Louis 202. Those are the 3 leading teams with runs scored with 2 men down. The Rangers have the best percentage. They're at nearly 46% of their runs scoring with 2 men down. These are huge situations for a team to try to get that run in. Markakis towards the gap, right center field. Ellsbury over it, will hang for him, and he makes the catch. Now, Nick didn't get the good wood, and Dempster gets out of it. A hit, a walk, and 2 men left. We'll head to the 4th at Camden Yards. Boston has the lead. 500L, bringing more interior space, more doors, more passengers, and more fun. Drive one today. I walked right by that car in the concourse on my way out to the food drive.
You like it?
Yeah, it looked pretty nice. Youngster having fun. He's got his ice cream on this Saturday night at the ballpark. Good seats. Isn't that great? Kids having fun at the ballpark.
Sure is.
David Ortiz leads off against Feldman. 1-0 Boston. Strike on the inside corner. Ortiz drew a walk his first at bat, the only walk allowed in 3 innings by Feldman. And another strike. Off speed pitch that finds the plate. 0-2. .53 pitches now for Feldman. He does have one 3-up, 3-down inning. That was in the first. Ortiz, high fly ball center field. Jones back on it. And towards right center, he has it for the out and one away in the Boston 4th inning. Fans, get on board during the playoff chase. Pick up the Birdland Summer 6-pack. You'll get a ticket to 6 games of your choice for the remainder of the season. And it includes 2 against either the Yankees or the Red Sox, all for one low price. You'll pay non-prime prices for the prime games that you don't want to miss. So lock in those seats now as the pennant race heats up and enjoy major savings over the single game price. For details, visit Orioles.com or call 888-848-BIRD. Fans out there in the bar in center field, which is a very popular spot here at Camden Yards. And how about that curveball? All right, you're a hitter. You're not looking for that on the first pitch.
No, you're sure not. Feldman has a great ability to throw that pitch for strikes, and it really sets the tempo, I guess, or the table for what he's able to do now with the rest of this at bat. He can mix up everything, and I think that breaking ball is now in the back of Napoli's head. Feldman's shown tonight that he can throw that 2-seamer, get good action down and in on Napoli, or cut it away.
Foul back, 1-2 on Mike Napoli, who had a pretty interesting offseason. He agreed to a 3-year deal with the Red Sox, and then there was a problem with his hip when he had the physical, and they went back and forth, and they tore that up, and he signed a 1-year deal. They still wanted him. He still wanted to go there, but didn't get the security that he was hoping for because of the medical. But he's been fine on the year. 14 home runs for Boston. And Feldman gets him. What a job of pitching there. First strikeout and 2 away.
Oh, it really was. And Napoli, very dangerous hitter. Take a look at the Nissan pitch track. This elevated fastball, cutter up in the zone. And Napoli's chased a few already in this series, and he's unable to get to that one as well.
Mike Karp, who bounced into a force play his first at bat. Curveball again. This one misses outside. Orioles starters have 41 wins. 41 of the 58 wins belong to starters. Ball 2 outside. Fastball misses. Chris Tillman, of course, leading the Orioles. Last night he won his 13th. He has 10 games above 500 at 13-3.
Pretty impressive start last night for Tillman. There's Wei-Yin Chen. Really helped stabilize this rotation when he came back off the disabled list. Pitched very well. Miguel Gonzalez as well. And Jason Hamill. And there are your 5 starters.
Hamill pitches tomorrow. Picking Tillman's brain. Okay, how'd you do it last night? What did you do? Foul back. Today was must-see BP before the game. Pitchers batting practice, getting ready for the interleague road trip coming up to the National League cities out west.
Always a treat. See some American League pitchers try to hit and bunt.
Try to hit is the appropriate term. Foul back. They have a big competition. They take it seriously. Who can hit the ball the farthest? And then during the game, usually they're asked to bunt.
That's right.
Unless they happen to come up with 2 outs and nobody on, and then swing away and see what happens. And Karp fouls it back. Another one of these prolonged at bats because of foul balls. Outside and low, ball 3. Well, Karp has done a real good job here spoiling the good pitches of Feldman, and he's let 3 go by for a full count. Here comes the 8th pitch to Mike Karp in this at bat. And it's a base hit. Up in the zone, and Karp doesn't miss it for a 2-out single. Well, Feldman a bit frustrated. He made some good pitches that were fouled off.
Yes, he did. But you talked about it earlier. This Red Sox team has a knack to fight off pitches until they can get a pitch to handle. Karp got one that was elevated in the zone. Got just enough of it to get it out in the center field for a base hit.
Saltalamacchia gets another at bat. He grounded out to Roberts his first at bat. That ended the 2nd inning. Line drive over the head of Hardy for a base hit. Adam Jones is there. Karp will hold it second. So back-to-back singles after 2 men down. Boston with another rally going. The Mid-Atlantic Sports Report is back on Monday, 5 until 7 on MASN. Join Tom Davis, Dave Johnson, Mel Antonin, and Phil Wood. We'll recap this 3-game weekend series against the Boston and look ahead to the week ahead. Orioles on a long homestand. The Astros come in Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then Seattle next weekend. We'll also have all the latest news as the trading deadline approaches. The Mid-Atlantic Sports Report, 5 until 7 on MASN, coming up on Monday. Karp to second, Saltalamacchia to first. 2 down. Here's Stephen Drew. He singled and scored the Boston run in the 3rd. Inside 1-0. Feldman coming off an outstanding outing last Monday at Kansas City. He went 8 innings. He allowed only 2 runs on 5 hits. Fly ball right field deep. Markakis back, and that ball is gone. It's into the bleachers for a 3-run homer. And Boston doing to the Orioles what the Orioles did to the Sox last night. 2 outs and nobody on, and the Red Sox rally for 3.
Well, Drew's 6th home run of the season. Nice pitch, kind of staying there, middle in, belt high. And Drew just kind of gator arms out and gets a good part of the bat on it. Flies in over Markakis' head for a big 3-run home run.
So a big 3-run shot, and it's 4-0 Boston. There's a breaking ball too tight to Iglesias. And a strike taken. So the homerless streak here at Camden Yards for Feldman comes to an end. How about that? Why are you looking at me? Once a superstitious player, always a superstitious player. Weak ground ball towards third. That is a fair ball. Tough play from Machado. It's safe at first base is Iglesias. Good hustle down the line for an infield hit. Bang, bang, but it looked like Iglesias got the foot down ahead of the throw.
Yeah, there aren't many players that are going to be able to beat that one out. Manny Machado with another great defensive play. Good jump on it right over the bag. And that's a 1-step and throw. That is a bullet.
arm once again for Manny Machado, but Iglesias, he smells that base hit and he is hustling down the line. Manny Machado finishing off there.
Rick Adair out for a chat. 4 straight hits after 2 outs and nobody on. Of course, the big blow, the Stephen Drew 3-run homer. So Adair with a chat to give Feldman a breather. 22 pitch innings so far for Feldman. Now it's 73 as he works here in the 4th inning. Orioles have some work to do now, trailing 4-0. Ellsbury singled, stole a base, and was left stranded in his last at bat. He is 1 out of 2 overall. Feldman trying to get out of this inning and get his team up to the plate. Ellsbury here in the 4th inning, already batting for a 3rd time. Outside with a fastball. Jacoby Ellsbury will be on the free agent market. He'll turn 30 in September. Be interesting to see the teams that go after Ellsbury. He has a lot to offer with his game. Iglesias runs, pitch taken high, and Wieters drops it.
And that was a really big jump right there from Iglesias. Really timed Feldman perfectly. And we saw the speed as he legged out that single. Take a look at Matt Wieters behind the plate. Nice high pitch. Just loses it on the transfer.
Now 2-0 the count on Ellsbury. Broken bat, line drive right to Davis, who reaches up and grabs it. So the inning ends as Boston breaks it open a bit. 3-run home run by Drew. Bottom of the 4th coming. 4-0 Sox. City College and by your local BMW Center. Turned out to be a pretty nice night downtown after the rain came through, delayed the game. And Boston has out hit the Orioles 6-1 and a 4-0 lead as we head to the bottom of the 4th. Real pitch efficient first 3 innings for Dempster.
Sure is. 39 pitches to this point. Really not many jams for him either. I mean, this is just what the Red Sox were hoping for, this type of start from Dempster, but still early in this ball game. And now the Orioles bats come around for the 2nd time.
Jones, Davis, and Wieters here in the 4th. Adam flied out to center field his first at bat. Ball 1 down and in. Adam has a 2-game hitting streak going. He has 9 hits since the break. Well off the plate, ball 2. Dempster has been in the Rangers organization 2 different times. Once as a minor leaguer, once as a major leaguer. Strike on the outside corner. Drafted by Texas in '95, and when he was in A-ball, he was traded to the Florida Marlins. As the Rangers were looking for some pennant race help, and John Burkett went from the Marlins to the Rangers. Adam Jones, right field, pretty deep. Victorino's back on it, reaches up and makes the catch. Victorino went back almost to the wall, and a great grab by Victorino takes a base hit away from Jones, 1 away.
Yeah, it really was a good play. Adam Jones driving the ball once again to right field. Victorino going back. He feels that wall back there, but he times his jump, comes down perfectly, avoids injury. Good play by Victorino.
Here's Chris Davis, called out on strikes his first at bat. That's the only strikeout for Dempster. And he takes high, 1-0. Chris, since the All-Star break, no home runs, just 4 RBIs, and 3 of those came in one game. But one thing he has done this year is pick up base hits. Most players with at least 100 hits on major league rosters. The Tigers have 5. The Orioles, Rays, Reds, and Cardinals each have 4. For the Orioles, Machado, Jones, Markakis, and Davis all have at least 100 hits. And a good take there for ball 2. There is no reason why this happens to a pitcher, but there's a pitcher on every staff that for some reason he gets all the run support. And on the Red Sox, it's Dempster. He has the 4th best run support of any pitcher in all of Major League Baseball. About 6.5 runs per game when he pitches.
I think starting pitchers would love to have that. Of course, the Red Sox offense, much like the Orioles offense, able to produce some runs pretty quickly when they're on. They can put up some big numbers.
Of course, you never know which pitcher that's going to be from year to year.
Right.
2-2 on Davis. And he got him. So Davis swings through it. He's 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts and 2 men down.
Take a look at the Nissan pitch track here. Oh, he's pitching Chris Davis. That one, split finger down in the zone. See it drop right at the end. Looks like it's going to stay true, but right at the end, that great fade to get underneath the bat of Chris Davis.
Matt Wieters now. He flied out to left field. His first at bat. He'll look over strike 1. For Dempster, it's his 3rd start against the Orioles on the year. He is 0-1 with a no decision in the other 2. He's been pitching real well. 3 earned runs or less in 9 of his last 10 starts. Boston gave him a 2-year contract to come over as a free agent. He finished up last year with the Texas Rangers. They acquired him from the Cubs. Cubs have been dealing a lot of veteran pitchers to other organizations the last 2 years.
Yes, they have.
Randy Avis, the pitching coach of Boston. 1-2 is outside. Wieters wouldn't chase the splitter. As Feldman came to the Orioles from the Cubs after spending all of his career up to this year with the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, I think that was something that the Orioles looked at as well. I mean, so much experience in the American League.
Wieters to center field, didn't get the good wood. Ellsbury's there, and he puts it away. And Dempster has a 3-up, 3-down inning, his second in the game. We'll head to the 5th at Camden Yards. Feldman back to work. The Orioles trail. Thing ever event. Visit bwdealer.com. Well, 1984, Pete Rose passed Ty Cobb, the all-time singles leader. His 3,053rd single came off Steve Carlton. Pete at the time playing for the Expos. Of course, Pete would pass the Georgia Peach for the all-time leader. He ended his 24-year career 3,215 singles. And in 1998, Sammy Sosa at the first Grand Slam of his career, what made that unique, it was career home run number 247. The most career home runs before hitting a Grand Slam in big league history.
Wow.
There's Sammy Sosa, a one-time Oriole. Here's Shane Victorino. Ball one as Feldman misses down and in. Victorino, Pedroia, and Ortiz against Feldman here in the 5th. Lined right to Hardy, one down. The fans, on Tuesday, the Orioles will open up a 3-game midweek series here against the American League rivals, the Houston Astros, new to the American League this year. Good seats still available for each game, including Tuesday's game, which is Ollie's Bargain Night, presented by Ollie's Bargain Outlet. All the upper reserve seats that night are just $9 in advance. So get on board for the pennant chase. Gather up your family and friends and join us here, 888-848-BIRD or Orioles.com. A one hopper to Hardy from the outfield grass, the long throw, and he got him.
Another great defensive play for J.J. Hardy. Quick reaction as well. I mean, this is a line drive one hopper, and right off the bat, J.J. Hardy goes into retreat mode, takes a deep angle, and you see him make that play about 4 feet on the outfield grass. The strong throw to get Pedroia, and Feldman certainly appreciating the defense behind him.
So 2 quick outs. Here's David Ortiz. Breaking ball misses down and in. Ortiz walked in the 2nd, flied out in the 4th. Fouled straight down at the plate. Feldman trailing here 4-0. The big blow, the 2-out, 3-run home run by Stephen Drew in the 4th inning. Boston is 10th in the American League in home runs. Sort of surprising for them. Usually they're among the league leaders. Second home run allowed by Feldman in his 5 starts. as an Oriole. Ortiz works the count to 2-1. Ball 3 high. David Ortiz, he is a real good overall hitter. And he has walked 46 times and struck out 45. That is very impressive for a slugger. Can't catch up to that. 3-2.
Possibly Feldman's best pitch right here. 88-mile-an-hour cutter. Take a look at the Nissan pitch track. This late bite at the end at 88 underneath the hands of David Ortiz. A beautiful pitch. Great depth.
So 3-2 with 2 men down. And a roller foul to prolong the at-bat. Feldman has struck out just 1. He has also walked just 1. The Red Sox getting a run in the 3rd, then 3 in the 4th. Off the end of the bat foul. Machado chasing, and he runs out of room.
A long run right there for Machado. He's at the shortstop position.
Look at this big crowd at Camden Yards on this Saturday night. Feldman trying to keep it as is. Ortiz about to see the 8th pitch in this at bat. Another prolonged at bat. And he walked it. So Ortiz, real good batting eye, fouled off a couple of pitches. And Buck Showalter on the phone to the bullpen. Troy Patton is going to get loose. Patton has been pitching very well. Here is Napoli. Healthy cut, and he missed. 0-1. Napoli in his first year with Boston, he came up through the Angels organization. Drafted in 2000, a 17th round pick. He was traded to Toronto in January of 2011, and he was in the Blue Jays organization 4 days. One of those trades that a team makes knowing they're going to turn that player over and send them to another club. He was traded in exchange for Vernon Wells. Wells went to the Angels, and then 4 days later, Napoli was sent to Texas for Frank Francisco, a reliever. And some good years in Texas before signing with Boston as a free agent for this season. Line drive caught by Hardy. Well, the shift was on that way, and Hardy there to grab it. So the 2-out walk, 1 left, mid-5th. Birds need some runs, trailing by 4. Tonight's Maryland Lottery Hit a Big contestant of the game will receive $500 for any Orioles home run. Casey Dodson has already won $600 tonight. For your chance to be the Maryland Lottery Hit a Big contestant of the game, play 5-card cash. Go to mdlottery.com/Orioles to enter. And this big crowd would like to see some home runs this inning, as the Orioles trail 4-0. Hardy, Urrutia, and Roberts against Ryan Dempster. In the first 4 innings in this game, Dempster has been able to retire the leadoff man, as well as the first 2 men in each of the 4 innings. Ground ball towards the middle and a base hit for Hardy. First time tonight the Orioles get the leadoff man on. And JJ's on. He's 1 out of 2. Fans, when the Orioles win, everybody wins. The Orioles won and scored 5 or more runs yesterday, which means pizza for everybody. You get 50% off your regular menu price online order today. Just enter promo code Orioles5 at papajohns.com when you order. It's valid at participating Baltimore area Papa John's. J.J. Hardy has joined the 100-hit club, so the Orioles now have 5. That was number 100 for Hardy. And here is Urrutia. Foul tip held by Saltalamacchio and 1.
Well, holes have kind of opened up here for Urrutia with J.J. Hardy at first. He has the ability to pull it into the 3-4 hole. And of course, on the other side, Drew has to get a little bit closer to second base with a double play opportunity.
Talking with Henry at the batting cage today with the help of Nate McLeod, he said he learned from his father how to hit. His father also played for the Cuban national team, retired in 1995, and Jim Presley has marveled at the swing. And you use the term staying inside the ball. Presley says he does that as well as any Oriole. I was asking Presley, I said, what about all these base hits to left field? He said it's the swing.
Well, I think it's good, and he's shown that he has some power potential as well. A lot of doubles in the minor leagues. He has that great length, so when the timing gets down, the approach is sound by staying inside the ball. And then if your bat gets sped up with an off-speed pitch, that's when you're going to start seeing balls head off into the gap and possibly over the fence.
Ball and 2 strikes on him. And a line drive, base hit, pulled to right field. So he got the bat head out on it and pulls it into right. Here come the Birds, 2 on and none out.
Take a look at the pitch here. Change up out away, split finger, and he reaches out and gets it, hooks it through that hole, keeps that bat on a nice level plane. Pick up that line drive base hit.
Well, 2 on with none out. Second time in the game the Orioles have had 2 on in the same inning. And the third, McLeod single with 2 down, then Machado walk, but Markakis flied out to end it. Here's Brian Roberts. He had a line drive to the first baseman Napoli, his first at bat. Boston 2 for 5, runners in scoring position. The Orioles are 0 for 1. Orioles trying to get back in this one, have a chance here. 2 on and none out. Brian Roberts has been hot. Takes a strike on 1. B-Rob with a 3-game hitting streak, 5 for 10 in those games, and batting at a .360 clip since the All-Star break. And his out tonight was allowed out.
Well, he puts together some quality at bats. You knew it was just a matter of time before he got his legs underneath him and started to pick up hits more consistently. But since he's come back from the disabled list, just quality at bats. You know, he works a pitcher, he knows what he's doing up there. And certainly tough. Good to have him back in the lineup and now being more productive. As you said, swinging a red hot bat since the All-Star break.
Iglesias, even with the bag at third, they're back elsewhere. Looking for a ground ball to possibly turn a double play. Roberts lays off, and it's high, 2-1. John Farrell looking on for the Boston bench. This is a huge game for both these teams. Tampa Bay has already won.
You're already starting to get that kind of playoff feel, I think, and you're going to see more of it, obviously, when teams get matched up in the American League East. But a lot of attention paid to each pitch, each play.
Roberts to right field. Victorino back. He was shallow. It's over his head, and it's against the wall. Hardy heads to the plate. He will score. It's a long RBI single. And the Orioles on the board. It's a 4-1 game. And now the crowd might get back in it.
Yes, it is. And a big inning here. Obviously, started with 2 singles, and then Brian Roberts with the big double. You see the bend. Brian Roberts staying on it, driving it over Victorino's head. Now, Victorino made a nice play last night on Brian Roberts, coming in on a ground ball and throwing Hardy out at the plate. But this time, Brian Roberts beats him deep. J.J. Hardy able to score easily.
Real good base running by Urrutia, picking up that ball would get over the head of Victorino, so Urrutia makes it to third. Here's McLeod. The corners are covered, nobody down. Fastball is a called strike on the outside corner. Nate 1 out of 2, singled his last at bat. He is looking for his 6th multi-hit game since the All-Star break. Swings through it, 0-2. Urrutia at third, Roberts at first. McLeod at the plate represents the tying run. 4-1 game here in the 5th. And the 0-2 is outside. Dempster is paying very close attention to Brian Roberts, but Brian, since coming off the DL, has not been looking to steal bases.
No, he hasn't been aggressive over there as far as stealing bases goes, but certainly a threat. He knows how to steal a base. He's a veteran guy that has had great success throughout his career, so he knows keys to pick up on pitchers, and I'm sure if the opportunity is there, you'll see him try to steal a bag.
Long look at him. And the 1-2 in the dirt. Roberts thought about going, but stayed put. Urrutia's at third. He stayed put as well. And a nice block by Saltalamacchia. So from 0-2 to 2-2 on McLeod. There's been a thorn to the Red Sox, in particular since Buck Showalter took over here. Two and two on McLeod, 2 on and none down, a run in for the Birds. And he got him, a huge out for Ryan Dempster. McLeod down on strikes and 1 away.
Pretty nasty pitch here from Dempster. You watch the bottom just drop out of this pitch right at the end. Bottom of the strike zone at 83 miles an hour. That's a big time pitch from Dempster.
Greg Breslow, left-hander, getting loose here in the 5th inning. Markakis and left-handers on deck. Here's Machado. Manny walked his last at bat. Pop foul to the catcher Saltalamacchia in the 1st. Orioles trying to get that run at least in from third. McLeod, a strikeout, huge for Dempster. In that Royals series, the Orioles struggled in these types of situations.
I think there's a lot of times that players get into these situations and just, try too hard. They become more defensive than offensive minded, And I think so many of these Orioles hitters have the potential to drive balls in the gap. Just stick with your game plan. You know, most of them stay hard to the middle, gap to gap, and that's going to pick up some RBIs along the way. You stay with that plan.
Manny will take a strike. Yeah, I guess the mindset is, because you watch BP every day, and there's always at the end of the round hardest hit, and usually that means how far can you hit it, how hard can you hit it, that you can turn that on in the game. But it's a little different when you're facing Rudy Arias and Bill Castro and BP, or Mike Bordick and BP and Ryan Dempster during a game.
All right.
You guys aren't throwing splitters. Wow. Late time requested and granted by Tim Timmons. John Farrell, the next pitcher, can't be happy about that.
You saw him hollering some words out of Tim Timmons. Yes, it was a late timeout.
Timmons is waving off Farrell. It looked like it was Salta Lamacchia that requested time. I think that's what Timmons said. It was your guy.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to grant it if it's late. 0-1 on Machado. It's something you see in baseball 99 times out of 100. If a hitter requests time, they're going to grant it. Very infrequently do you see an umpire just ignore the hitter because he senses the pitcher is about to or is going into his windup. But it looked like that time it was Salta Lamacchia that requested time verbally. Machado swings through it. It's 0-2.
Well, Dempster doing a good job of varying his holds right now. Some long holds mixed in with Brian Roberts, of course, at first base and thrown over. So the timing for Manny Machado has been really tough here in the early going of this at bat.
Dempster requesting time. He has some mud caught in his cleats. Well, he was able to strike out McLeod, so Urruti is still at third. Now he's 0-2 on Machado. Runners leading first and third now with one down. Double play depth up the middle. Machado thought he was going to be called out and started walking back to the bench. Wow.
Yeah, Manny got a break on that one. Looked like a pretty good pitch from Dempster.
Without trying to, he may have showed up the umpire there. He was convinced he was going to be rung up. But the pitch was just off the plate and called ball one.
We saw a tough pitch like that in last night's ball game when Chris Tillman dotted a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. It looked like it was right down the heart of the plate, and it was called a ball.
1-2 on Machado. First and third, one down, a run in. Bounce towards the middle, double play ball. Drew, Pedroia, back to first and a double play. Wow. Dempster does a great job of working out of it. Orioles settle for a run, Stram one. We'll head to the sixth. 4-1 Boston. Come into the booth, Jim Hunter and Mike Bordick, and Dempster did a great job. First and third, nobody out, a run in, and the Orioles can't get Urruti in from third. A strikeout and a double play ball. Outstanding job of pitching.
He sure did. I mean, that last inning proved what a veteran pitcher can do. Knows what he has to do to come up with the big pitch, the big out, induce that double play ball to get himself out of a huge jam. But he has been pretty solid throughout the whole ball game, really kind of stymieing this Orioles offense. And the Red Sox offense, a couple big hits to put themselves ahead of the Orioles.
In these situations, this is what has plagued the Orioles over the last week. It hurt them in Kansas City and again here tonight, and the night is done for Scott Feldman.
Yeah, it is. 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, all 4 earned. Of course, that 3-run home run by Drew really hurt, but he threw the ball pretty well, I thought, other than that 1 home run. He utilized the defense, got a lot of ground balls, just 90 pitches, though, to this point. Now out of the game, of course, Troy Patton in relief. This will be his 40th appearance, 3.48 earned run average, 26 strikeouts. Base on balls is stuck at 13 and has been for almost 2 months now, it seems. 271 opponent batting average, 268 lefties, 274 for the righties.
Carp swings through it, 0-1. Saltalamacchia on deck, and then Stephen Drew. Showalter saying before the game, he was asked about how he's using his relievers and how he needs to use them. And he said, well, there are certain guys that if they go X amount of days and they haven't pitched, they have to get in. There are certain guys we know we have to back off. They're more effective if they get more rest. And then there are certain guys that they can pitch pretty much every day and it won't bother them. Hunter and Johnson got in the game last night as Tillman went 6 innings. The Orioles had a big lead, and the reason being, Buck said they both needed to pitch.
Yeah. Well, Buck and Rick Adair certainly have a great feel for that bullpen and the arms out there.
That is a fair ball against the shift, and Carp will get a base hit.
Well, not much you can do on that. And you see Carp with a smile on his face right off the end of the bat. And take a look at the swing. Now the Orioles playing the shift, and that ball looks like it's going to go foul, but there's so much English on it. It stays fair. Manny ends up fielding it way out on the grass on the right field or left field line.
Carp didn't mean to do that, but it worked out okay for him. He is on with the leadoff single. Here is Saltalamacchia, who will bat from the right side, the switch hitter facing Patton. Saltalamacchia contributed in the rally in the 4th, and he'll look over a strike. Patton in his last 19 games has pitched to an ERA of 1.45. Bouncer towards third, hit slowly. That is a fair ball out at second base. Laz Diaz almost came up with both hands, and then at the last second signaled fair. And here's John Farrell to argue.
I don't know if he's going to argue or if he's going to be amazed that that play Manny just made again. I guess he's going to argue the call.
Mike, I saw his hands both about to go up, and then at the last second, the right hand stayed down, and he called it fair. Let's see if we can pick it up.
Yeah, take a look here. Now chopped right down the line by Saltalamacchia. Manny Machado stays with it, and he makes the play right on the chalk. Unbelievable defensive play. Manny well aware that it's fair. He sees where it bounces, and he picks up a huge out. Keeps the double play in order. Quite a play. I know we're kind of caught up in the argument by Farrell over there with Laz Diaz, but let's not forget that Manny Machado just made another highlight play.
Well, earlier this year, there was a play that Machado made or didn't make as Drew comes up, and he looks over ball 1 where he assumed it was a foul ball, and he held on to the baseball.
Right.
The ball was fair, and the base runner reached. And after the game, Buck Showalter said, it's been discussed. It'll never happen again. What did Manny do that time? He played the ball. He got an out.
Yes, he did.
Drew to right field. Back on it. Markakis at the wall. Reaches up, and it's off the wall and in play. Heading to third is Saltalamacchia as the ball bounces around. Now he'll score. Being held at third base is Drew, and now he's in a rundown. And the Orioles will try to get him back to third. Throw home, and safe at the plate is Drew. The Orioles botch the rundown. Six to 1 Boston lead. Farrell now is coming out to argue again. The Red Sox believe that should have been a home run all the way.
I got to believe they're arguing whether or not it was a home run. Take a look here. Drew crushes another pitch. Markakis got a beat on it. Gives a great effort.
That's a home run, Mike.
Yes, it is.
The roof of the groundskeeper shed is a home run. That hit the railing behind it.
It did.
That is a home run all the way. The Orioles botched the relay and didn't get an out, but it's not going to matter because once they see where that ball hit, it'll be a 2-run home run for Drew and a 6-1 Boston lead.
Yeah, I think it kind of surprised everybody. Adam Jones, I think, assumed it was a home run as well, but when he looked in at the infield, first base umpire Mike Estabrook was calling safe. So Adam Jones had to give chase. Look at the effort and then the ball hitting off that back wall. And Nick almost came down with this ball. What a great effort there by Markakis. Arm fully extended up over the wall. Man.
Quick review, and it's a home run. So Mike Winters, the crew chief, gives the signal. So regardless, the 2-run score, but it's a straight 2-run homer. So Drew has a 2-home run, 5 RBI night, and it's now 6-1 Boston. Well, Patton allows the home run on in relief of Feldman. The 5th home run allowed on the year by Troy, and here's Iglesias, the number 9 batter. Breaking ball for a strike, 0-1. So 5 of the 6 runs coming in on 2 home runs by Stephen Drew.
And Drew's had quite a night. 3 hits, 2 home runs, 3 runs scored, 5 RBIs.
And Boston has doubled up on hits on the Orioles, 8-4. Ground ball glove by Patton, nicely done. Bounces the throw and 2 men down. Wow. Davis able to glove it and save a throwing error by Patton. Well, the Orioles invite you to a special American Red Cross blood drive on Saturday, August 10th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Oriole Park. All donors will receive a limited edition Orioles t-shirt, 2 tickets to an upcoming game, and a chance to meet former Orioles outfielder Paul Blair. Now, appointments are strongly recommended. To schedule an appointment, call 1-800-RED Cross. And some light drizzle beginning to fall at Camden Yards as Ellsbury swings through a breaking ball. Ellsbury 1 out of 3, also has a stolen base. Now back this way, and it's 0-2. Well, what a turnaround, Mike, in the half innings that followed each other. The Orioles had a run in first and third, nobody down 4-1, and could not advance another runner. Urrutia left stranded at third. The double play ball ended the inning. Patton comes on, and a 2-run home run, and Boston pads its lead.
Yeah, quite a turnaround.
Ellsbury down on strikes. That'll end the inning, but the Sox hit a couple more. 2-run home run by Stephen Drew. Those have some work to do. Bottom of the 6th coming up, 6-1 Boston. Orioles and Red Sox in the series finale. It'll be Jason Hamill on the mound against John Lester. Our coverage on MASN HD begins at 1 o'clock with those extra presented by Geico, and then game coverage at 1:30. We've got all the access you need right here on MASN.
Yeah, take a look at tomorrow's starters. John Lester certainly has had his way with the Orioles throughout his career. 14-2 with a 2.86 throughout his career against the Orioles. Jason Hamill looking to get back on track, pick up his 8th win. That earned run average at 5.20.
Nick Markakis takes strike one, leading off in the Orioles 6th. Jones and Davis will follow. Markakis 0 for 1. He's also drawn a walk. And it's over but low. 1-1 the count. Craig Breslow's up for a second time in this game. Dempster's been real efficient with his pitches. Markakis rips it foul down the line. So Nick down in the count 1-2. The Orioles are 24-21 within the AL East. 6-2 against Boston. The Red Sox and John Farrell a big lead on Bucks Birds tonight, 6-1. Pitch upstairs. Nick doesn't chase. 2-2. In the 14 series within the division, the Orioles have won 8. They have lost 5, and they have split 1. That ball is a looper, and that's going to fall base hit. Markakis with a big turn around first to draw a throw, and he heads back to first base. And Nick with a base hit extends his hitting streak to 6 in a row, and a leadoff single. Second straight inning, the Orioles get the leadoff man on.
Well, there you go. Elevated pitch to Nick Markakis. Take a look at the swing. Stays on top of it. See him choking up on the bat. Short swing, picking up a base hit to keep his streak alive.
Adam Jones now, he's 0 for 2 with a couple of fly ball outs. Ball one upstairs. Iro Asensio is now getting loose for the Orioles. Dempster about to throw his 80th pitch. Adam late on that swing, 1-1.
Dempster's been mixing in enough sliders and split fingers. That 89 mile an hour fastball probably looked to be about 98 to Adam Jones right there.
It looks like Breslow must be getting loose for Davis, who's on deck. It certainly is not a pitch count issue here in the 6th. Adam fouls it off his foot.
Looked like it got at him pretty good. Two-seamer riding in. Might have got that one off the back foot.
Of course he got it off the back foot. He has the protection on the front foot. The ball doesn't cooperate.
Got to move it around a little bit, get a little feeling back in there.
Richie Bancells didn't come out, but he was on the railing looking at Adam to make sure that he's all right. 1-2 on Jones with Markakis at first. And he got him. Another real good breaking pitch. As Dempster, he has been getting some big strikeouts.
Yeah, that's his pitch, the split finger. And he has that late bite right at the end. You see it just drop off the table. And Jones swinging right over the top of that one.
Well, Chris Davis will face Dempster as Farrell stays on the bench. The shift is on. Too tight with a fastball. This is the situation you wonder if Davis would ever be tempted to just push a bunt to third base and take the base hit they're giving him. Orioles are down by 5 runs, obviously need base runners. There's a base hit to right field. Doesn't matter, he got it anyway. Markakis is going to head to third. Victorino with the throw. Misses the cutoff man, but Davis stays at first. So Davis pulls it in the right field, and the Orioles have first and third and 1 down.
Good piece of hitting right there from Chris Davis. A slider. Dempster tries to get it under the hands of Davis, but he keeps the hands tight to his body. But I yanked that one down the right field line. Good base running by Markakis to advance over to third. I know earlier in the game we had talked about this Orioles offense. Well, they're aggressive on the bases as well. Nick Markakis showing it right there.
So John Farrell with Dempster. Dempster doesn't want to give him the baseball. 5 1/3 innings. He leads at 6-1. Real good pitch count, but he'll leave. So the Orioles threatening here in the 6th. Dempster leaves. Breslow comes on in the 6th.
Not a bad outing for the veteran Dempster. 5 1/3 innings, just 6 hits, 1 earned run, a couple walks, and 4 strikeouts. He was a little hesitant in giving up the ball to manager John Farrell, but he is out of the game. Greg Breslow now comes in. This will be his 35th appearance. 2.88 earned run average with 19 strikeouts and 9 base on balls. See the opponent batting average of 276. Lefties hitting 304 and the righties down to 256.
So he will go to work on Matt Wieters, who will bat from the right side. Then J.J. Hardy will follow. The Orioles have first and third. Inherited runners, 14 of 20. He is left stranded. Wieters has been red hot since the break. Ball 1 outside. Now, as a hitter, when you're facing a guy like Dempster who kept getting big outs all night, is this a welcome relief just to have a different look?
Well, I think the Orioles hitters were fine with Dempster being in there. They just weren't able to find some holes. Dempster, certainly nothing that's overpowering, although he is a veteran and very smart pitcher. You saw the effects of his split finger. So maybe they are happy, but I don't know. When you got a guy that, I think the Orioles are used to facing guys that are 95, 96, so maybe you're right. So more of a finesse pitcher can be tough around there.
Well, Wieters swings through it. He's down on the count 1-2. Breslow will turn 33 in August. Check swing, and it's down and in. Orioles got him last year from Arizona in exchange for one-time Oriole Matt Albers and outfielder Scott Podsednik. Got in 23 games with Boston last year, been with them all year this year. Wieters pulls it foul. Look out. Breslow left one out on the plate. Wieters out in front of it. Big crowd at 44,765 at Camden Yards. Orioles are trying to chip away here in the 6th. Outside, ball 3. Nobody up behind Breslow, so with the right-handed Hardy on deck, Breslow will have to face him. Wieters trying to get on ahead of JJ. Showalter looking at his matchup sheets there. Good at bat for Matt. 3-2. Ground ball towards first. Napoli out at second, back to first, and safe at first base, and a run scores. Breslow couldn't get the foot down. That'll be an RBI ground out. It's a 6-2 game. Markakis comes in from third.
Now, Breslow did a nice job actually covering first base, but unable to find the bag. You see Matt Wieters reach out for this ball. Nice play by Napoli. Breslow was there, but he just over boogied and went on by first base and unable to reach back and make that tag. Markakis able to score, get the Orioles a little bit closer.
And good positioning there by Mike Estabrook. Didn't anticipate the play, and he got the call right. There's J.J. Hardy. 1 out of 2 with a run scored. Takes a strike, 0-1. Ball 1 too high, 1-1.
These are the type of situations that are dangerous for opposing teams. And we had talked at the open of the show, the home run potential that these Orioles have. When you get a guy on base, everybody has the potential to knock one out. Of course, J.J. Hardy, best power hitting shortstop in the game.
Swings through a pitch that broke down and in. 1-2 the count. JJ has homered twice since the All-Star break, including last night. Now has 18 on the year. Breslow gets ahead of him, 1-2. Off the end of the bat, off speed pitch. Drew at short and shallow left, puts it away, and the inning ends. So the Orioles once again settle for just a run. We're through 6 at Camden Yards. Boston with a 6-2 lead on the Birds.
big series, but Stephen Drew in the 4th inning with the 3-run shot. Put Boston up on top, but Brian Roberts staying red hot, driving a double over Victorino's head to score J.J. Hardy. But Drew answers again with a controversial home run. Markakis giving chase. It's off the wall, but yeah, after further review, it sure is a home run. Here's the game summary. 6-2 Red Sox. Stephen Drew with a big night, 3 for 3. Dempster out of the ball game with 5 1/3 innings pitched. Feldman 5 innings with the 4 earned runs. Geico, remember, saving people money on more than just car insurance. Jairo Asensio now in the ball game. This will be his 4th appearance for the Orioles. Working on trying to get that earned run average down. It's at 6.75 right now. Has a couple strikeouts and a couple base on balls going.
Asensio has worked just once since the break. He got into the game Tuesday in Kansas City, pitched a 1/3 of an inning. Here's Victorino leading off. Pulls it deep down the line. Will it stay fair? That is gone. Onto the flag court for Victorino, rudely greeting Asensio. And the Red Sox lead is now 7-2. They get that run right back. 5th home run for Victorino. Victorino has a 2 RBI night.
He jumped all over this first pitch from Asensio up in the zone, and he just tomahawks this one right down the right field line. He knows it off the bat. On the flag court.
3rd home run for the Red Sox in this game. Breaking ball to Pedroia is in there for a strike. And they are doing to the Orioles what the Orioles did to them last night. The Orioles hit 4 home runs en route to a 6-0 win last night. Pedroia fouls it back to the right. It's 0-2. Pedroia 3 ground outs in the game. 2 to short, 1 to third. Overthrows and Pedroia takes. Feldman 5 innings, 4 runs. Patton 1 inning, 2 runs. And now Asensio has allowed a run. So all 3 pitchers have been scored on in this game. The 2 Oriole runs charged to Ryan Dempster. One and 2 on Pedroia. Doesn't chase the fastball. 2-2. Tough night for the skipper. Well, not that side. Showalter's team trailing now 7-2 in the 7th inning. Pulled deep down the left field line. That's headed to the corner. And that is a foul ball. Faded foul just at the end.
Stephen Drew kind of setting the tempo here now. Everybody trying to hit the long ball for the Red Sox. Real aggressive up there.
Pedroia has 6 home runs on the year. He is in a 3 for 30 drought. 2-2. Bases empty, nobody out. Outside ball 3, won't chase. Asensio has had prior big league experience before the Orioles. He was having a real good year in AAA. Three and 2 on Pedroia. Bounce foul.
That's his pitch right there. Great changeup. Really sells it well with the arm action. You see the movement on that ball. His fastball, he gets up there 93, 94 miles an hour. Change. Great sinking action at 87.
Another 3-2 to Pedroia, ripped, and a diving stop by Machado. Gets up and fires. He got him. Oh, what a play by Manny. Robs Pedroia of extra bases, 1 down.
Yeah, another beautiful play right there by Manny Machado. Great reaction, super first step, and he dives, and his glove position is perfect as he catches that ball actually behind himself. See how deep he has to go. Creates a great angle right there. Quick to his feet. Great athleticism. You see the little pre-pitch. Boom, off he goes. 1 step and a dive. Right back up to his feet and a strong throw. With a calm reaction right there after such a smooth play.
And why not? He does it so often.
Yes, he does.
What confidence he has defensively. Ball 1 to David Ortiz, who is 0 for 1. He has walked twice. Asensio bounces it in there. Asensio has pitched in the big leagues for Atlanta, for Cleveland, for the Cubs, and now the Orioles. And he's going to need a new mouthpiece. Ball 3. And the 3-0, and he took all the way. Ortiz, he called it a strike. Ortiz's feet were almost out of the batter's box before he left.
Yeah, 3-0, and he's just walking out as Asensio starts his delivery, and he flips the bat, assuming that they're not going to pitch to him. Timmons calling it a strike, so get back in there and hit.
And another strike.
A real good changeup right there. See the movement on that pitch.
John Farrell once again yelling at Tim Timmons. I'm not sure what he's yelling at. And he got him. So Ortiz says something to Timmons as he walks by. And Timmons has given him a lot of leeway. Pointed to the brim of his helmet saying that pitch was this high. The strike 1 call. But you know what, Mike? He showboated a bit there. He was already walking the first before the pitch was caught by Wieters.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a nasty changeup down in the zone.
But Ortiz has been thrown out of the game. John Farrell staying in front of David Ortiz.
Ortiz a little frustrated, obviously, in those calls. From Timmons went in and busted up some stuff in the dugout.
Dustin Pedroia trying to calm him down.
Oh. Okay. That's why he got thrown out. Busting up a phone. Watch out. He had Pedroia sitting there on the bench, too.
Wow. So he's been ejected. He'll be fined for throwing equipment, and he's going to owe the Orioles a telephone.
Right.
If it works.
And he's lucky he didn't hurt one of his teammates.
Pedroia was all over him to calm down. Here's Ortiz going back to the bench.
Yeah, after the big strikeout, you see him just snap on the phone.
And Ortiz almost hit Pedroia with the bat. No wonder Dustin was upset.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing of it is, Mike, if he doesn't hot dog it a little bit and start walking down to first base on the 3-0 pitch, he probably calls that a ball.
Yeah.
But because he had a foot out of the batter's box and was already walking down, disrespecting the pitcher, the call went against him and it changed the at-bat. Good job by Asensio coming back to get him. Timmons gave him a lot of leeway too, because as he walked away, his hand went up to the brim of his helmet, and there's the phone casing. Well, it looks like the casings protected the phone.
Yeah.
I thought Timmons did a real good job there. Ortiz clearly was showing him up, and he allowed him to stay in the game until he went into the dugout and turned into whatever he turned into with the bat. Strike 3 call. Inning over. But the home run by Victorino has added to the lead. Tim Timmons has had a long night. John Farrell and the Red Sox have a 7-2 lead. For iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At Bat delivers Orioles baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. Text at Bat to 31826 or visit Orioles.com for all the details. And Adam Jones, Jim Presley, Richie Bancells somewhat enjoying the tirade of David Ortiz. Maybe Richie teasing him about the foul ball on the foot.
Maybe both. I mean, that was a pretty impressive snap from Ortiz.
Urrutia towards third. Wide of the bag was Iglesias. 1 pitch, 1 down as Urrutia is retired. So Henry is 1 out of 3 going after the Breslow first pitch. Orioles down by 5. Boston, each time the Orioles have scored, came back and scored in their next at bat. Orioles made it 4-1 in the 5th. Boston got 2 in the 6th. Orioles got 1 back in the bottom of the 6th to make it 6-2, and the Victorino home run has made it 7-2. Ryan Roberts, an RBI single off the wall in right field, his last at bat, and he'll take strike 1. Breslow has retired all 3 hitters since coming on in relief of Ryan Dempster. Ball 1 taken low, 1-1. Roberts now has a 4-game hitting streak, and he's got 10 base hits since the break. He is playing in his 23rd consecutive game since being activated from the disabled list, and that's a real good sign for the Orioles. They were hoping that would be the case, that he'd take over the everyday second base job again, and he's been able to do that.
Well, I'm sure Buck asked him, made sure that, hey, when you come back, you're going to be in there every game. I don't want to be wishy-washy about it. And Brian Roberts has been doing just what Buck had hoped.
Buck talking over some strategy, it looks like, with Chris Davis, and there's a strike. Brian thought he had ball 4. Tim Timmons does have some late strike calls. He must yell it before the hand goes up, because there is a delay between the catcher catching the ball and that hand going up. Yeah, and obviously we can't hear if he yells strike or not, but Brian immediately stopped. So 3-2 the count. And then he bloops it foul the other way to stay alive. Breslow came on to face Wieters. Wieters got the runner Markakis in from third with an RBI ground out, but nothing further. High fly ball left center field. It hangs up for Karp, and the left fielder gets there and has it for the out, and 2 men down. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the Orioles. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Orioles. 7-2 game. Saturday night downtown. Here is Nate McLouth batting with the bases empty. Nate has 1 hit and 3 trips. Nearly hit him, and it did or did not. Yes, it did. He's letting him go to first. Timmons never signaled. His hands went up. I wasn't sure if you'd say, wait a minute, that didn't hit you, but down to first base goes Nate.
Take a look at this pitch, just kind of getting away. Two-seamer taking off inside. Must have got the jersey.
If it did, it nicked it. I didn't see it hit anything.
Right.
So McLouth is on. Here is Machado. Outside, ball 1. Adam Jones camo jersey there. And he fouls it off. Machado is 0 for 2. He's walked. He also ended the 5th inning with a double play. That was a real good chance the Orioles had against Ryan Dempster. The first 3 batters all reached on hits, and a run was in. That made it 4-1. It was 1st and 3rd and nobody out, and the Orioles could not get another run. That inning may have been the best inning for Dempster, because not only did he only allow the run, he prevented the Orioles from adding a second run.
Right. Yeah, that was a huge inning. Could have been a big turning point. Brian Mattis now warming up in the Orioles bullpen.
2-1 on Machado. McLouth at first and 2 down. Ball 3 outside. And the Orioles need base runners, and Machado being very patient. Tazawa, the right-hander, getting loose for Boston. Loop towards right center field. Victorino over. It hangs for him, and he makes the catch. Right off the end of the bat. You can hear it just didn't leave the bat well. So the hit batsman, a man left. We're through 7 at Camden Yards. Boston has the lead. Stephen Drew, 2 home runs and 5 RBIs for Boston. And Nick Markakis for the Orioles, a single and a run scored to extend this hitting streak to 6 consecutive games. Text in your vote now and have your voice heard. A, B, or C to 31826. 7-2. Boston has the lead as we head to the 8th, and a new pitcher comes on for the Birds.
Yeah, Brian Mattis out of the Orioles bullpen. This will be his 44th appearance, 3.38 earned run average with 31 strikeouts and then just 12 base on balls for Brian. See the opponent batting average 215. Lefties hitting just 141. Not Brian. Righties much better at 316.
Dustin Pedroia checking out the damage by David Ortiz. Looks like something's missing.
Yeah, the phone case.
The Red Sox were very, very fortunate that in his rage that bat did not hit Pedroia, who was just innocently sitting there, not realizing what Ortiz was about to do. That could have been a major, major disaster for the Red Sox.
Sure could have been. The bat could have hit him, or the pieces of the phone case.
Here's Mike Karp against Brian Mattis. Pulled to right. Markakis on the run. He won't get it. Gets by him for a base hit. Bounces up against the wall. And Karp pulls in the second with a leadoff double. Well, the Red Sox are just pounding the baseball here tonight.
Yeah, Karp having a good night. His 3rd hit.
10 base hits for Boston. Daniel Nava's going to come on a pinch run for Karp. So Nava now at second base running. And here is Saltalamacchia. Saltalamacchia singled and scored in the 4th. And then reached on a fielder's choice in the 6th and scored. Each time he has scored on home runs by Drew, who was on deck. Breaking ball for a strike, 0-1. Feldman went 5 innings, 4 runs on 6 hits. Patton 1 inning, 2 runs on 2 hits. Asensio 1 inning, 1 run on 1 hit. And now Brian Mattis. Popped up foul wide of first. Long run for Davis, and he reaches up and he just misses it. Estabrook over there to make sure that everybody knew that ball was out of play, so if a fan did reach out, there would not be interference. The Red Sox in this game have gone in order only once, and that was in the 1st inning. As Feldman retired Ellsbury, Victorino, and Pedroia, 3 up, 3 down in the first. The 0-2 bounces, and a ball and 2 strikes. Foul ball off. Saltalamacchia prolonging the at-bat. Mattis last worked on Thursday in Kansas City. He appeared in 2 of the 7 games on the road trip, but only worked a total of an inning and a third. Buck gets him in the game here tonight. Just outside. Changeup that Saltalamacchia lays off. Orioles have on the Saturday night orange uniforms tonight, the alternate jersey. Mattis is working on a streak of 9 consecutive scoreless appearances. Runner at second and nobody down has that in danger. 2-2 on Saltalamacchia. Ball 3.
Well, and these are type of situations that Brian Mattis really goes to his full arsenal. This one-time starting pitcher. A lot of weapons that he can use to get himself out of jams. A great changeup. I've seen him bury a couple hard sliders into Saltalamacchia. He's got the big breaking ball as well.
And the 3-2 popped up. Wieters throws the mask. And he's got it for the out. That was a real good pitch by Mattis. Came in with something off speed, and Saltalamacchia was way out in front.
A nice job by Brian Mattis. Fight back and win that battle there.
One down here is Stephen Drew, who has single-handedly been the difference in this game. The Red Sox have a 5-run lead. He's got a 5 RBI night on a pair of home runs. He is 3 for 3. And a swing and a miss. And look what the bottom part of the order has done in this game. 6 through 9, 8 out of 14. 6 runs, 2 home runs, and 5 RBIs. The home runs and RBIs all belonging to Drew. The top of the lineup has contributed 2 RBIs, both by Victorino in the number 2 spot. 1-1 as that pitch missed down and in. So Drew, one of those hitters that when you look at it, you go, uh-oh. Came in 1 for his last 15. Yeah. Broke out. The 1-1, good pitch, swing and a miss.
Beautiful breaking ball right there from Brian Mattis. Great location as well. Down in the zone. And you know Stephen Drew is seeing the ball really well in this ball game, so you have to execute some good pitches.
Nava, the pinch runner at second, now with 1 down. Ball and 2 strikes on Drew. Strike 3 called on the outside corner. Drew doesn't like the call.
A couple run-ins tonight with Timmons behind the plate. Like a pretty good fastball from Brian Mattis, dotted at 92 miles an hour. A little bit off the plate, not quite in the box. Caught really well from Matt Wieters, though.
Drew thought it was low and outside, and it may have been until Wieters moved the glove. Nice framing job there by Matt Wieters, and he got his pitcher a call. 2 men down. Mattis steps off as Iglesias comes in. Iglesias 1 out of 3, an infield hit on a slow roller towards third. That was back in the 4th inning. Inside and low, 1-0. Outside, ball 2. Boston came in at 61-43. The Red Sox and the Braves are the only 2 teams in Major League Baseball who have been above 500 all year. Each got off to a good start and each has kept up the pace. Swing and a miss at a ball that bounced in there, 2-1. Of course, after their disastrous year last year, no one really knew what to expect with Boston. They brought in John Farrell as their manager. They made several acquisitions going outside the organization, getting proven veteran players to join what they had. Ground ball slowly hit towards short. In between, hop to Hardy, gets his man, and Mattis works out of it. A leadoff double and 1 left. Well, after the bottom of the 8th at Camden Yards, Mattis and the Birds trailing 7-2. To support the Y of Central Maryland's Fit and Fun program. To date, the Orioles have drawn 252 walks for a total of $12,600. Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield encourages each of us to take that first step towards a healthier and a more active lifestyle.
Well, Tazawa now in the ball game. This will be his 47th game. 2.84 earned run average, 50 strikeouts, and just 7 base on balls. Very aggressive in the strike zone. You see the opponent batting average at 266, lefties 267, and righties at the same 265. Tazawa's got a pretty good fastball. You can get it up there to 97, and a real good split finger to go along with a curveball and a slider.
And defensive change, Daniel Nava pinch ran for Karp. He stays in the game now in left field. $44,765 the attendance here tonight. Big time crowd on a Friday night. They're looking for some late heroics here as the Orioles trail it by 5. 6 outs to play with. Markakis, Jones, and Davis in the 8th. Nick Singleton scored in the 6th inning. The Orioles have put the leadoff man on in this game only twice, but each inning they did so, they scored. But the Red Sox pitching in each in the 5th and the 6th did a real good job of preventing a big rally. Bouncer to first, loved by Napoli. And the flip to Tazawa, who does get to the bag and 1 away. And Markakis, first ball swinging, hit it hard, but right to Napoli.
Yeah, Bullock kind of chasing Napoli back towards the outfield grass.
Frankie Rodriguez getting loose in the Orioles pen. Here's Adam Jones, who is hitless on the night, flied out twice, and he has also struck out. Outside for ball one. Ball two outside. Tazawa has been in the Red Sox organization since 2009. He was signed as an international free agent following the 2008 season. Had a nice career in the Japanese major leagues before coming to the States. Adam fouls it back. He has recovered from Tommy John surgery, missed 2010 with that surgery. Seven to 2, the Red Sox have the lead. They're trying to even this series, set up a rubber game for tomorrow. Orioles trailing by 5 here as they bat in the 8th. 1 out, nobody on. 2-1 on Jones. And a solid base hit to right field for Adam. Victorino cuts it off. He'll hold it to a 1-out single.
Adam consistently in this series going to right field hard. A couple home runs. That was a bullet to right field.
Adam now with a 3-game hitting streak. He's 4 for 11 in the past 3 games. And here's Crush. Fans want him to crush one out. Singled his last at bat, 1 for 3 on the night. Shift is on. And the pitch taken high, and it's 1-0. The Red Sox probably would love it if he just laid down the bunt, but I still wonder if it ever crosses his mind in these situations when you're down by 5 runs. I mean, nobody's at third base. If he just pushes a bunt, he's on, and 2 on with 1 out. We have yet to see him do it, so I guess it doesn't cross his mind.
I saw him do it in spring training a couple times because I know he was working.
Oh, look out. There goes the bat.
Oh.
And Chris is going to let the fan who got that back keep it as a souvenir. Just lost the grip on it. Well, 1-1 the count. Big shift on as Davis usually sees these. Swing and a miss.
Good aggressive cut right there from Chris Davis. A couple of his at bats here over the last week. He seemed like he's a little bit in between, but he let that one go. Just missed it.
Well, 1-2 on Davis. Outside with a fastball. Now 2-2 on Chris. Jones a small lead. And he fouls it off. Tazawa is a very slow worker with nobody on base, and with a runner on, he comes nearly to a stop, which obviously is part of his strategy.
Right.
Showalter and the Birds need base runners, down here by 5 runs in the 8th inning. Oh, good cut.
That is definitely the danger zone for Chris Davis. Up and out over the plate. Let him get those arms extended. Seeing his power to all fields.
Wieters is on deck. Jones on at first with 1 down. Inside. That back kind of gives you an idea that maybe Davis is close to really breaking out of it. That was a real good take.
Yeah, it was. And he's had some good swings in this at bat.
Full count with 1 down. And it's high, ball 4. So Chris works the walk, and the Orioles have 2 on with 1 out. Yeah, well, the Orioles finally take advantage for a big inning, getting a couple of men on. Red Sox have been able to pitch out of jams in this game to keep their lead. Jones and Davis on with only 1 out. Here's Matt Wieters. Matt RBI and a ground out his last at bat. 0 for 3 on the night. High fly ball to right. Victorino's back on it. Jones is going to tag. Victorino has it. Jones will go to third. Victorino plays it back into second, so a big out for Tazawa and 2 down. Orioles have left 6 men on in this game, and a double play ended the 5th inning, erasing a base runner. Here's J.J. Hardy. Hardy is 1 out of 3. Scored a run in the 5th inning. Francisco has been up the entire inning. Looks like he is ready to work in the 9th. Hardy trying to prolong the inning, get a run in. High strike, 0-1. As a hitter, you obviously have a rhythm at the plate. What does a guy like this do to you, who just doesn't seem to want to throw the ball?
You have to be patient for sure, but you just bide your time, obviously, until he starts his delivery, and then you get your timing. But there is sometimes you just have to step out and create your own rhythm.
Up and in, 1-1.
I mean, just a weapon that a lot of pitchers have, to offset the timing and the rhythm of the hitter.
Ball and a strike on Hardy. Homered last night. Can't catch up to that one. And it's 1-2. Tazawa is only 27. Ball and 2 strikes on Hardy. Slow tapper towards short. Charging Drew. He bobbles the ball and a run is going to score. Drew charging as that ball was hit slowly. He knew he would have to rush the throw and he couldn't make the play. Now it's a 7-3 game and the inning continues.
Yeah, J.J. Hardy just kind of reaching out there to put this ball in play, put some pressure on him. Drew just kind of, or Stephen Drew just kind of kicking this one. Goes in with 2 hands. A lot of times you'll see a shortstop come in there with just the one hand, the glove hand, to allow, if the ball takes a bad hop on that last hop, the freedom to move your glove. When you go down there with 2 hands, it kind of locks you up at times. And that looks like what happened on that play to Drew.
That has been ruled a hit, as the official scorer felt, obviously, that they would have taken a bang-bang play in his haste to try to get Hardy. That's what caused the misplay. So Hardy gets an RBI. Here's Urrutia. Davis stopped at second. Ball low. Hank 1 out of 3 to extend his hitting streak to 4 straight games. Well, the Orioles are down by 4. Tying run is on deck. 2 on and 2 out here in the 8th. Ball 2 inside. Jones singled and scored this inning. Davis had a real good at-bat to work a walk. And Hardy with that infield RBI single. 2-0 on Urrutia. Foul tip in and out of the glove of Saltalamacchia at 2-1.
Good pass right there and a 2-0 fastball. Thornton up in the Red Sox bullpen now.
Tazawa facing his 6th batter here in the 8th inning. Davis and Hardy second at first, 2 down here in the 8th. Oh, good cut, and he fouled it straight back, 2-2.
Yeah, a couple good passes from Urrutia.
Urrutia in his 8th big league game, and he has 9 hits in the major leagues since joining the team in Texas to begin the post All-Star break portion of the schedule. 2-2 the count on him with 2 men down. Zawa trying to get out of this. Down the left field line, it hangs for Nava, and he makes the catch. So another inning that looked so promising, and the Orioles held to a run. We'll head to the 9th, 7-3 Boston. achiever in you. Fans out on Utah Street, 7-3. The Sox have a 4-run lead as we head to the 9th. And for the first time as an Oriole pitching at home, here is Francisco Rodriguez.
Yeah, 27th game this season. He does have a very low earned run average at 1.40. 26 strikeouts with 9 base on balls. 10 saves though on the year. On a batting average at 200. Lefties hitting just .098. Francisco, righties at 333.
He made his Orioles debut on Thursday in Kansas City, allowed a run on a home run by Billy Butler. So he will face the top of the lineup here, Ellsbury, Victorino, and Dustin Pedroia. Fastball is high, 1-0. Ellsbury singled in the third, 1 out of 4. Foul back on the netting. Orioles got Rodriguez from Milwaukee. Foul back. You see, he was a young star. He came up very young with the Angels. In his major league debut in 2000, got in 5 late games in September. And if you recall, there was something with an injury with the roster, and somehow they were able to get him on the postseason roster that year. And the pitch is high, and as a 20-year-old, he was pitching in the World Series in his first year in the bigs. And he had only pitched in 5 games before that postseason.
Right.
There are the numbers. 12th season now. 304 saves.
Yeah, he had quite a string. One of the best closers in the game. About 5 or 6 years.
Ellsbury down on strikes, 1 away.
Take a look at the pitch here. Great action away. Hits Matt Wieters' glove. Nice strikeout right there from Francisco Rodriguez. K-Rod.
After his record-setting 62 save season in 2008, he went to the Mets as a free agent, signed a big deal. Victorino now. Breaking balls high, 1-0. He was with the Mets until traded to Milwaukee midway through the 2011 season, and stayed with Milwaukee until traded to Baltimore, although last offseason he was a free agent. He couldn't get an offer. And finally went back to the Brewers. There's a strike call. Victorino questioning the call.
Yeah, that's his pitch right there. Changeup. 82 miles an hour. Really sells it with all the arms and legs coming out there. Great action on his arm.
Another changeup. Of course, with his track record, the other part of what made Rodriguez attractive to the Orioles is the fact that because he couldn't get a contract, signed late with Milwaukee, he basically was in spring training in April in the minor leagues. So he's only appeared in a total of 26 games now. This is 27th game overall, and here we are in late July. 1-2 is inside. So you have a veteran pitcher who has pitched in the postseason, a former closer. Six different seasons he has pitched in the postseason in his big league career. Orioles are hoping it'll be a 7th here. 2-2, Weekly at the short. Hardy. And 2 down in the 9th. Here's an update on the voting for the AT&T Player of the Game. And Nick Markakis has the lead, 1 for 3 with a walk and a run, getting that hometown vote. Text in your vote now. Have your voice heard, A, B, or C, to 31826. Tom and Rick will have the results coming up on O's Extra Postgame. A 2 down. Here's Markakis. 1 hit on the night to keep that hitting streak going. Now it's 6 in a row. Fastball for a strike to Pedroia. Good pitch on the outside corner. Dustin is 0 for 4, and he survived the clubbing in the dugout. And David Ortiz went bonkers after being called out on strikes. And took out his frustrations on the bullpen phones in the Red Sox dugout. And unfortunately for Dustin, he was sitting about 3 feet away from there and almost got hit in the head. There's the remnants of the foam in the Red Sox dugout. Strike on the outside corner again. A 1-2 the count on Pedroia. Rodriguez trying to keep this as is. Orioles down by 4 with 1 at bat to go. And the 1-2 bounces in there. The Orioles in the bottom of the ninth will have Roberts, McLouth, and Machado coming up. Rodriguez is the 5th pitcher used by the Orioles in this game. Two and two on Pedroia. 4 ground ball outs in the game here tonight for Dustin. Fastball overthrown. The count goes full. Pedroia 4 times an All-Star. Rookie of the Year, MVP. And the 3-2 breaking ball stays inside, ball 4. So Pedroia will take a 2-out walk. And he is on base for the first time tonight. Well, one-time Oriole prospect Brandon Snyder is going to bat for David Ortiz, who was ejected by Tim Timmons in the 7th inning. Snyder taking over that DH spot. First ball swinging, high fly ball to shallow center. Jones has it, and the inning is over. Oh, 2-out walk and a man left. Here we go, bottom of the ninth, last chance for the Orioles. Birds come to bat, down by 4. Of Demper?
Oh, definitely. Hey, you got to believe in the Orioles offense. And Koji Ohara is having an exceptional year for the Red Sox. This will be his 48th game. 1.59 earned run average. Has moved to that closer role and has had 9 saves on the year. 65 strikeouts, just 8 base on balls. See the opponent batting average is just 156. Lefties 106 and righties at 213. So the Orioles hitters certainly a test here against Uhara.
Came to the Orioles in 2009 as a starter and eventually converted to the bullpen. He was with the Orioles until traded to Texas July 30th, 2011 in exchange for Chris Davis and Tommy Hunter. Another of the stellar Andy McPhail trades. There's Tommy in the Orioles pen. T.J. McFarland, Bill Castro. Koji signed with Boston as a free agent. So even though it's not a safe situation, Koji, who is now the closer, brought in. Shows you how much John Farrell needs this game with a 4-run lead. In the month of July, Koji has allowed only 1 run, and it's unearned. He last worked 4 days ago. Here's Roberts. Fastball's high, 1-0. Well, you know he's comfortable on this mound, having worked here as an Oriole. He appeared in 98 games with the Orioles over his 2+ years, 3 total. He made 12 starts as an Oriole, also had 13 saves. High strike. Roberts was taken all the way. B-Rob knows Orioles need base runners, and the leadoff man the most important when you're down to your last at bat.
Yeah, a couple good ones. Brian Roberts and Nate McLouth here.
Koji is a strike thrower. He comes right at you. Bench coach John Russell with the skipper. Two and two on B-Rob, who was 1 out of 3. Outside, ball 3. Roberts gets on. It certainly will encourage the Orioles. Big pitch here. The 3-2 popped up. Drew out, Nava in. Nava calls, and the left fielder makes the catch, and 1 down. So B-Rob got the count to 3-2, but Koji Ohara gets him for the first out. Nate McLouth singled in the 3rd, was hit by a pitch in the 7th, so 1 for 3 officially. And a strike taken by Nate. Ohara is the 4th pitcher used by Boston. McLeod towards the corner. Long run for Victorino, and he can't get it. Bounces by him for a base hit. And Nate will head to second base with a 1-out double. So Nate with a 2-hit night now has 100 hits. So the Orioles have 6 now with 100 base hits.
A nice swing here by Nate McLouth. Elevated up over the plate. He stays on it and drives it down the right field line. It looked like Victorino had a beat on it, but just beat him down the line. 22nd double of the season for Nate.
Here's Manny Machado, who was hitless on the night. Outside, ball 1. Manny drew a walk in the 3rd. He has popped foul to the catcher, bounced into a double play, and flied out. Fastball and a high strike called. 1-1. Koji throws that baseball out of play. You just got to strike with that ball.
Right.
What could be wrong with it?
It might have run into a moth or something on the way. Who knows?
One on, one out. Birds trail by 4. Oh, good off-speed pitch.
That's it. See, that ball he threw out was a fastball.
Right.
The ball he got back was an off-speed ball.
Had the better seams to throw that pitch. And he gets Machado. Gets a fastball by him. Manny's down. And the Orioles are down to their final out.
Now Hara has that invisible fastball. Just enough life at the end to get it over the top of Manny Machado's bat at 90 miles an hour. Looks like a very good pitch to hit, but it sneaks by. There's a lot of pitches that are swung and missed on Hara's fastball.
Well, Nick Markakis, the last chance for the Orioles. Nick, 1 out of 3 plus a walk. And strike 1 taken. Buck Showalter talks about the dog days of a season, which many believe to be August. As Markakis fouls it off, he's down 0-2. But Buck has said quite often that it really begins when July hits, because you're looking forward to the All-Star break. The break was late this year. And you look at the Orioles, if they don't rally here and they're down to the final out, they'll be 11-11 in July. It's been a tough month to get really anything big going, although they did have the 5-game winning streak, which was their longest of the year. But the 3 losses in Kansas City got rid of that progress. Outside, Markakis takes 1-2.
Yeah, definitely July. You find yourself really grinding through it, trying to fight to stay on top, and it has been one of those months, kind of up and down. But be here at 500 now, but there are a lot of good signs. There's one of them right there. Chris Tillman pitching extremely well, and we've talked about the rotation, so a lot of positive signs, but it has been a grind through July.
2-2, nearly hit him with a fastball. Last year, the Orioles made their push to the playoffs. Wei Yin Chen and the Birds, from August 1st on, they were just about the best team in baseball. Outside, ball 3. So Markakis was down 0-2 after 2 pitches. He has worked it full with McLeod at second and 2 down. And the 3-2, high fly ball to right, playable for Victorino. He is there, and the Red Sox have evened up this series at a game each. With a 1-out double by McLeod, he is left stranded as Buck Showalter's team drops the middle game in this series, and it sets up a rubber game here tomorrow. Final once again, Boston 7, the Orioles 3. And we invite you to join us again tomorrow. More O's action. The series finale against the Sox. It'll be Jason Hamill for the Birds against the left-hander John Lester. Our coverage begins at 1 o'clock on MASN HD with O's Extra, presented by Geico, and then game coverage at 1:30. And now for Mike Bordick and our entire hardworking crew, Jim Hunter saying so long from Oriole Park at Camden Yards, where the Red Sox have defeated the Orioles by a final of 7-3, sets up a rubber game for tomorrow afternoon. Tonight's telecast, a MASN presentation. Tom and Rick, O's Extra, presented by PNC, comes your way right now. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.